Auburn, and around college football. Follow and compare to the sites you used to visit. You'll also get the latest highlights and news from the Next Round Daily Show. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. See more at nextroundlive.com. Want more of the show? Download the app or visit nextroundlive.com for the latest podcast, The Mystery Fifth Hour, our Not For All Ages podcast, The Last Call, and the entire Double Down Media podcast family, all at nextroundlive.com and on the Next Round app.
By now, you guys know how I feel about my fashion. However, did you know that I care about your fashion choices? Cargo shorts are out, flip-flops are only appropriate on the boat, and please throw away that stained t-shirt from college. You may be thinking, e.g., that's all I own. What do I do? Here's what you do. Go to nextround.store and fill your cart with a wardrobe that is approved by me. Stock up on logo t-shirts, hoodies for football season, and hats for every day of the week. Trust me on this one and head over to nextround.store to get stocked up for this season.
We talk about all the biggest games every Monday at 10:30 with Fox Sports analyst Joel Klatt, presented by MyBookie.ag, promo code NEXTROUND. If it is meaningful at all in college football, we cover it Mondays with Joel Klatt, presented by MyBookie.ag on the Next Round.
Just because you've quit going to the gym, it doesn't mean that you have to quit gym altogether. Dunaway, that is. With our Next Round podcasts open 24/7, 365, you can access gym anytime you'd like. While you may have done away with your treadmill routine, our version of Dunaway is standing by ready to get you back to your absolute best. Find all that lovely Jimmy D-led content on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and in the podcast section of nextroundlive.com. This message is sponsored by Jimmy Crypto Inc. and Jimmy Crypto for President. The World Wide Web is a large place. Find all your favorite people and content in the same spot. NextRoundLive.com is full of wonderful tidbits about the show you know and love. Find our gear, listen to your favorite personalities, follow our socials, and enjoy your trip to NextRoundLive.com.
From the creators of The Next Round comes two new sites, CoverCrimson.com and TheBarnAuburn.com. Two team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. CoverCrimson.com or TheBarnAuburn.com. Sign up today.
Happy football season. At the Next Round, we strive to make our loyal listeners feel like they're a part of the action all season long. My name is Emily Grace McWhorter, and I do that by bringing you along for any given Saturday in Auburn or Tuscaloosa. From pregame warm-ups, touchdowns that make you feel a part of the play, and everything in between, our goal is to make you feel like you're inside Bryant-Denny or Jordan-Hare. Follow along on our social media at Next Round Live on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Also, check out thebarnauburn.com and covercrimson.com while you're at it. Here's to fall Saturdays.
From the creators of The Next Round comes two new sites, CoverCrimson.com and TheBarnAuburn.com. Two team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. CoverCrimson.com or TheBarnAuburn.com. Sign up today.
Follow Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The social media team at Next Round Live is dedicated to giving you daily news conferences and practice video from UAB, Alabama, Auburn, and around college football. Follow and compare to the sites you used to visit. You'll also get the latest highlights and news from the Next Round Daily Show. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. See more at nextroundlive.com.
By now, you guys know how I feel about my fashion. However, did you know that I care about your fashion choices? Cargo shorts are out, flip-flops are only appropriate on the boat, and please throw away that stained t-shirt from college. You may be thinking, e.g., that's all I own. What do I do? Here's what you do. Go to nextround.store and fill your cart with a wardrobe that is approved by me. Stock up on logo t-shirts, hoodies for football season, and hats for every day of the week. Trust me on this one and head over to nextround.store to get stocked up for this season. Hang out with the Next Round on the go. Whether you're driving to work, running errands, sitting on the beach, or you just need a break from the real world, we can keep you company. Check out the Next Round, Mystery Fifth Hour, and our other shows on your favorite podcast app. We'll meet you there.
Call the Next Round now at 205-734-0923. Jim Dunaway. Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the next round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
All right, welcome in. It is the next round of Friday, Football Friday. We got the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3 coming up. We got Todd Fuhrman from the desert coming up. Tim Melton is in. Forster out today. Melton is in. Good morning, Tim. How are you this morning?
Doing well, Brownie. Happy to be here. Have a little bit of a Halloween hangover from all the candy that I ate out of my daughter's pack.
Guess how many times my doorbell rang? Zero.
Really?
Yeah, our man Bo told me he ran out of candy last night. I didn't have one trick-or-treater.
Bo
I
lives
knew
on
it.
a better street.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. So we have Tyler, by the way, in for Scott today. So welcome into Tyler as well. Hello, Tyler. Little T on social media, EG here as well. We'll get to everything today, including your calls if you want to jump on 205-734-0923. Halloween is actually really fun on my street. And the reason is our little cul-de-sac, we got 4 or 5 houses right there in our cul-de-sac, and everybody in the cul-de-sac, like nobody sits this one out, which is what's cool about it, is everybody gets involved. In the cul-de-sac, we set up a row of tables, and everybody brings food, and everybody just contributes candy. So there's these big baskets of candy.
So kids just swing by, grab.
Yeah, so they go through, and then we've got Capri Suns for them, or little bottles of water for them in a cooler. And then the adults, we just hang out and eat taco soup and hot dogs and dip and whatever anybody has cooked in the cul-de-sac right there. It's actually really fun. I mean, we started, like around 6:30 and probably stayed till about 10. Yeah, I came in and watched the very end of the Jets.
We
game.
ran to one of the small ghetto Mex places just to grab quick Mexican.
Right.
And on the way back through the neighborhood, we were talking and we're like, it doesn't even feel like Halloween. I didn't see a trick-or-treater.
Wow, that's crazy. I wonder if they've just abandoned your neighborhood.
I live in a big neighborhood and there's kids. Here's the problem though. And this is developers. Don't be cheap moving forward. Build sidewalks in your neighborhood.
Yeah,
I don't have sidewalks in my neighborhood. I think it depreciates the property.
It does. We've got sidewalks in ours, and I think that probably helps. Yeah.
Moving forward, unless I'm on some farm out in the middle of nowhere, which I'd love to be sooner than later, if I go back to a different neighborhood, it will have sidewalks.
Yeah. It's a fun night. I really do enjoy Halloween in our neighborhood. I've
done Halloween in your neighborhood twice.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
We have a good time. Now, I've heard some of the streets that used to be described as Mardi Gras have toned it down a little bit. So there were 2 streets in my neighborhood and 2 parts of my neighborhood that everybody was like, oh, it's like Mardi Gras on Halloween.
And they had to pull back?
I've heard they've toned it down a little bit.
I finally finished, I told you, and Melton, you'll love this, the McMahon documentary.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot if it was 5 or 4 parts, but the first 3 or 4 really good, skip the final 45 minutes, hour. It's not worth anything. But I did think it was funny, and that guy is a business genius. Say what you want about Vince McMahon, the person. But when he had to, who was going against Nitro or whatever, and they had to get edgy.
Ted Turner, WCW, Eric Bischoff.
So I did have an edible in my system, but I could not. I was laughing my ass off at some of the things they've done. Now I kind of understand why people have watched this stuff. Brown, it's the most ridiculous storylines I've ever seen in my life. You can't make the stuff up.
You don't watch wrestling at all.
Ever. I've never watched
this,
it.
Yeah.
But watching that last night, I was like, oh my God, they did this and they did that and
wrestling,
they hated this person this much.
It was at its peak of popularity when I was in school in the late 90s, and everybody was wearing Wolfpack gear, or they were wearing Stone Cold shirts or whatever. It was super
incredible.
popular.
And how they developed some of their characters. Anyway, not to step on your story, my point was much like
I don't remember the story I was telling.
your Mardi Gras streets had to get tamed down by the HOA.
I think
USA Network told them, hey, pull back a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
So it got so bad that even USA was like, I don't know.
They were finding workworkarounds, though. They were still hitting the core audience.
What was USA upset about? Just like the TNA?
Oh, yeah. They were, they had girls flashing.
Yeah.
They basically had simulated gangbang scenes. It was some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Wild time.
I feel like the problem with documentaries series now is they all go 1 or 2 too far.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like
right.
the good ones, because somebody else said that the chat's moving really fast, the mybookie.ag chat, but a lot of people are agreeing with you. Zach was one of them. The last episode was very weak. Yeah. It feels like in these documentary series, like I remember McMillions was really, really good. I felt like it went one too far. The last one was just like, I didn't need that.
Yeah. It's almost like leave it in a cliffhanger and make people Google, like, what the hell happened here? Like, this is kind of somewhat open-ended because they kill it with the last one. Like, I know sometimes we have interns up here and we're like, hey, what's this intern going to do today? We don't have anything for him to do.
Right.
Push them, let them watch the entire documentary, and let us know if it's needed to watch the final part.
That's going to be our...
That's what the meltdown is for, Lance. That's literally...
So you're stuck into watching that final episode every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was going to be...
and I've got to say this because my buddy Heath, him and his wife Mel, they were over a month and a half ago, whenever it dropped, and they're like, you got to see it. And I was like, dude, I have... And I think you said the same thing. I don't care anything about wrestling. They said it doesn't matter. And it really doesn't matter. If you just, if you're in some form of a family business, if you just like entertainment, if you like ridiculous storylines, it will appeal to all.
So I love the television show Succession on HBO. This is the closest thing to real life Succession that you will find.
It has that angle,
Oh, does it really?
With the McMahons, and just how dysfunctional that family was, and ultimately. And I guess I was still a little confused. I don't want to give anything away, but Can
you spoil a documentary that's been public for? I mean, I don't know.
Who is running the show now? Is he back?
Creatively, right now, running the show is Triple H.
Okay,
that's the guy running the show creatively.
Do they have a Greg? Because
Triple H, he used to be in Birmingham all the time.
Oh yeah, no. I was downtown.
I've seen him multiple times.
You remember the old 11th Avenue Grill? It was a million different, or not a million different things. I think it was a Jim and Nick's eventually. I'm trying to remember if it was the 11th Avenue Grill or if Jim and Nick's had already taken it over. I don't even know what it is now. But right across 11th Avenue from there is that like herbal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about on South Side, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about on South Side, yeah.
And
right off 5 points.
I think it's still a Jim and Nick's.
Okay. Well, it was, but
and
for
there's
a minute.
a Surin right there.
That's right. Yep. So we were sitting there eating. And somebody goes, oh, my God, there's Triple H. And I look across the street, and he's going in that herbal. I don't even know what that store is.
By the way, he stands out.
But he's massive. I mean, I could see why my buddy recognized him.
Yeah.
And wrestling was not in town. I think he was in town. That was the old
Dr. Andrews.
Yeah.
Surgery, yeah.
Yeah, he was getting
Quad surgery, I believe.
Because, my ex-wife Bethany used to work at the Embassy Suites, and that's where he would stay. And he was in town all the time. And she'd be like, Triple H is here again.
Yeah.
Said he was a super nice guy. But that guy's massive. Tell me if I'm wrong. Just through the documentary, I have formulated that I think The Undertaker might be the greatest wrestler of all time.
Wow.
I mean, that's not too hot of a take to have. I mean, there would be a
Tyler
lot
agrees.
of people. You can actually.
Dude, I just love the passion. Like, you can still see, like, how sad the guy is that he can't wrestle anymore.
They're selling packages now where you can sit up in a suite and watch WrestleMania with The Undertaker in the suite with you, and I think it's going for like $10,000 or something like that. But those will sell, I promise you.
I don't know. There's something wrong with that guy. But I appreciate the passion, and I have formulated that opinion. I'm going to stick with it. Did Dunaway have the hot take on, like, Randy Macho Man Savage?
It was the day Randy Savage died. Dunaway said, I think he said the greatest wrestler of our generation or something like that.
Dunaway, non-wrestling fan, made
Correct.
that announcement.
Yeah, just made that pronouncement.
I feel like I've got a formulated opinion now that I've at least watched 4 hours of wrestling, like, history. And I am going to roll with The Undertaker's the greatest of all time.
It's fine with me. I don't care. Tyler gave you a thumbs up. I didn't know Tyler was, A, that big of a wrestling fan, and B, that big of an Undertaker fan. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm
not even sure he's on my Mount Rushmore, to be honest.
Well, so who's number one?
I think there's a really strong argument for somebody like Ric Flair. Being number one, yeah.
I mean, look, these are different generations.
Stood the test of time.
It's like saying, Johnny Unitas, best quarterback of all time. Yeah. I don't know.
Do you have the Great Kabuki on yours?
I do not.
Yeah, he doesn't make your Mount Rushmore?
No, he does not.
I will tell you, though, man, I might have missed out now. Like, I never thought I was, like, laughing that they would go head-to-head with Monday Night Football. But now when I see these storylines, the most ridiculous thing that I have ever seen.
I love that they went into the XFL in the documentary. I love that they went into that.
The reason we got talking about this is we sent Brown a text last night because it is one of the biggest landmines in history.
It's part of that show.
And who I told the story to last night, they didn't believe me. And I said, just send a name with a question mark. And they did it, and they got a confirmation like 100% is what Brown sent back. But, one day when we do our history of the show and all that kind of stuff, we can talk about the greatest. I mean,
we'll have to put that. We'll put that in the premium content section.
That is
exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
it's probably the most disastrous, catastrophic, sad landmine in history. Is that true?
Pretty crazy. Yeah, one of them.
I didn't mean to hijack the first 10 minutes.
No, I don't care. You think I care?
I know you don't. Dunaway would be sitting here going, oh, God, it's College Football Friday, but let me plug Alabama basketball before we get into it.
Hydra Live, though, does bring you part of the show. We are going to do that. Hydra Live.
They will be here Tuesday,
All
by
right.
the way. So I need to know anybody that wants B12 shots, anybody that wants the bags, whatever you want, we can get it. Daniel Jones will be up here. IV therapy, B12 injections, cryotherapy, compression therapy, now weight loss therapy, all under one roof. HydraLifeTherapy.com. You can book your appointment there. Walk-ins are welcome. If you can't make it to one of the great locations of HydraLife, guess what? They can actually come to your home or business. Very simple. Mention the next round, 20% off all those great services. Ask about memberships as well. 2 locations in Birmingham, Homewood, Highway 119 in Greystone. Also a Tuscaloosa location. Very important. Mention the next round, 20% off all the great services from our friends at Hydra Life Therapy.
Also, our guy, Greg Nelson. That is Greg from Pell City. He's been part of this show for a very, very long time, and he's also Storm Restoration Roofing's Greg from Pell City. He's the guy that will climb up on that roof and tell you if you need a new one. Maybe you've had some storm damage. We actually, thank God, have some rain coming through. Maybe you've realized with that rain, I've sprung a leak. Greg can get up on that roof. It may not need replacing. He'll be honest with you. We've had many members of our audience come back and say, look, I thought I needed a new roof. Greg got up there and said, no, you're good for a few years. 205-542-3531. 205-542-3531. Probably going to be his kids up there with him because it's a family operation with Greg. Greg from Pell City. Greg Nelson is his name. Or Greg from Pell City on Facebook. 205-542-3531. Greg from Pell City. Pavlik in the MyBookie.ag chat room was impressed that I went deep in the Von Erich generation with a great kabuki when I was a kid.
Have you seen the Iron Claw yet?
I have not. I want to. I need to see it.
You just don't like depressing stuff.
I really don't.
And I know people are going to go, who likes depressing stuff?
This guy right here.
No, but it's a realistic movie.
No. I would like to see it because when I was a kid, I would come home if it was too cold or rainy to play outside. ESPN in the afternoons would show replays of was it Texas Championship Wrestling? Was that the name that the Von Erichs were in? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
World Championship Wrestling? No, it's WCW.
No, that wouldn't have been it. But
it was in Texas, and they would always wrestle at the Sportatorium in Dallas, and it was old school. And, I mean, it was, I don't know how old it was, but it was new to me. So I would sit there and watch it, as a little kid. If it was too cold or too rainy to play outside, that's what I'd watch. So, yeah, I remember the great kabuki.
I remember my old man would watch it, and I couldn't do it. And then one of my best friends, Chief.
Yeah. World Class Wrestling. That was the name of it. Thank you.
Rest in peace, Dorothy, his grandmother, who was the greatest. Like, she'd get up at like 4 a.m. So if we had snuck out, we had to be really quiet coming back in. And then we got to a point where we'd just knock on the window and she'd let us in.
Yeah.
But she was always watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Either the Cubs or wrestling.
Yeah, I was not a big wrestling guy, but that was what was on. You didn't have a ton of choices when I was a kid, so I'd watch World Class Wrestling from Texas, baby.
Here's a tip for you. Almost every great wrestling movie is depressing, so
don't
watch
it.
Yeah,
The Wrestler.
The Wrestler
very
with Mickey
depressing.
Rourke, also depressing.
No, you're right. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, Milton, very few of these guys have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Not a massage happy ending. I mean, like a happy ending in life. Very few of them.
Yeah.
I thought it was great that they went around and they were like, how is Vince's legacy going to be remembered? And nobody really could answer it until, was it Teddy Atlas? I think it was Teddy Atlas was like the greatest promoter of all time. Yeah. And I think when you watch this, like his business acumen, like he didn't care. He would step on anybody. I mean, it was all business. Nothing was ever personal with that guy. What I couldn't believe is when he became a character himself, like how many steroids did he do and how was he still alive?
I don't have the answer, obviously, to that, but that is a fair question. Yes.
I mean, he looked like one of us, and then the next thing you know, he becomes this character, and he has gained, it looked like 60, 70 pounds of nothing but muscle.
Greatest villain in wrestling histrry, Mr. McMahon.
See, I never would have known that. Would you have known that?
No, absolutely.
And everybody agrees with that. Yeah. Like, we can be subjective on talking about who the greatest wrestler is, but everybody agrees.
Yeah, no greater heel than Mr. McMahon in that
That's
character.
pretty incredible.
Yeah, that is.
But had like his wife in a wheelchair when his mistress making out in front of her. I mean, crazy stuff, dude.
you liked it.
Yeah, you got to watch it. I mean, it was
Lance
incredible.
is a wrestling fan.
I know. All this Lance spit his Halloween becoming a wrestling fan.
I think I am, yeah.
Yes. All right, did you watch any of the Thursday night game?
Yeah, we had the Jets last night.
That's a winner.
Look, I thought Malachi Corley would be such a weapon in this Jets offense.
Now, he almost scored a touchdown last night.
Yeah, when he was drafted. And I've kind of been keeping up with him because I was like, damn, he's going to be the odd man out. Like, when they just had Garrett Wilson, Conklin's pretty good tight end, Breece Hall, I was like, Corley could be like the fourth or fifth weapon, and you get a Devontae Adams, and you look up, and he's only had a couple of receptions, and I'm like, kind of the odd man out, and he was so good at Western Kentucky. He was so good, in fact, the first time we talked to a collective, I was like, you guys need to check this guy out.
Oh, really?
In Bowling Green. Yeah, wow. I was like, this kid is that good.
Get him to come to your school is what you were saying.
Yeah. But last night, and I guess he got paid enough to stay at Western Kentucky, but I think it was the third or fourth round out of Western Kentucky for the Jets last May. But it was obvious that he had dropped the ball going in.
100%.
And how do people continue to do this? And it's like everybody makes mistakes. Somebody can't lose their job. But when does it get to a point where somebody actually gets cut for that?
I mean, you can't talk this way without sounding like the old man get off my yard guy and why isn't football the way it was when I was a kid. But I'm still going to say it. How did we get to the point where the best celebration you could possibly have is dropping the football at the earliest possible moment?
It doesn't look that cool.
Yeah, really? I mean, how does that make that a good...
I don't understand that. Doing the deuces, yeah.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's unbelievable. Once you get in, if you want to punt the ball into the stands...
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a penalty for that, but still, you've at least scored.
But you cannot punish everybody, especially a struggling offense. Again, 31 games now, and it didn't matter last night, that Aaron Rodgers has gone under 300 yards passing. The Jets need every single point they can get. And I thought for a minute, after Houston then took the lead, I was like, damn, they're going to lose because of Malachi Corley. And I'm going to hate it for this kid because it's his first big moment. It was just a dumb mistake. But, like, how's he going to look at other guys around the locker room in the eyes? And now, teaching moment for him. And not only, the two big moments in that game, and then obviously Garrett Wilson, who I've been screaming at the top of my lungs, is a top 2 or 3 receiver, and he just hasn't had an offense around him. That catch was incredible. I don't think it was a touchdown, though.
So you don't think he got the shin down before that? I mean, that is so, like, how do I get a shin down?
Yeah.
What is... Like
I just thought once they called it incomplete, like, I don't know how you overturn that.
Is it Terry Austin? Is that the guy they're using on Amazon? And when they went to him, because I watched it in real time, I'm like, zero chance he's in bounds if he even secured the ball.
Yeah, backyard football, you're like, that's
easy touch.
Yeah,
College football, easy touch.
Yeah, we're not even going to debate this.
But I'm like, he goes up with that one hand. I don't even know if he secured the catch. But then they show the replay. I'm like, he 100% secured the catch, but there's no way he's in bounds. And then he comes on, he's like, guys, if his shin gets down before the knee touches, I'm like, well, how do we define the shin? Like, I mean, where does the shin start and stop? Is that what we're going to get to? And then the knee? I mean, I guess you've got to draw the line somewhere.
And it is interesting now when you look at this schedule. I mean, they're going to be favored 3, 4, 5. Their next 6 games.
The Jets are?
Yeah.
Well, that's why back to the Malachi Corley thing, that could have kept them out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I really think that it could come down to the game at Buffalo on December 29th. Because they've got your Dolphins twice. They've got the Jags. They got the Colts, Seahawks, Cardinals. They've got my Rams. I mean, these are games they're going to be favored at.
Yeah. They're favored at the Dolphins, you think, the Jets? They won't be favored at the Dolphins.
Well, it depends on how Tua plays. I mean, you guys just lost to the Cardinals.
Yeah, Tua played well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was not the issue.
Maybe not. I mean, maybe not at the Dolphins. I think they will be a slight favorite against the Jags on the road. Bills are definitely a dog. Seahawks at home, Colts at home, at Cardinals. We'll see. That'll be close to a pick. But anyway, they've got an opportunity. And, hearing everybody talk about it, it's too late. You heard Orlovsky yesterday. It's too late.
Yeah.
I mean, if they only lose one game down the stretch, and that's a big if based on the fact that they're a team that had lost 5 consecutive games coming into last night.
Right.
But I still think if they go 10-7, they're getting in the playoffs.
King MJ205 says, how do we define the shin?
The shin.
Okay, here we go.
But here's the problem is you've got the knee above the shin.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it?
I'm going to do it. Here we go.
This one's for the ladies.
For the ladies. Hello, Aliceville. All right, shin.
Okay.
Like there to there? Where does it stop? Where does it start?
Yeah, I mean, it's above the ankle.
So right there?
Close, maybe a little bit further down to there, yeah.
There? So that part right there is shin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it looked like the knee had gotten to the back into the zone before the shin actually hit. But, maybe they looked at it and they were like, damn, that's such a good catch. We got to, because it'll go away and nobody will ever talk about it.
Those are the hard ones to overturn, man. When you were like, that is a really, really good catch. I hate to say that wasn't a catch.
Because I can't remember this. You guys help me out. What is the greatest non-touchdown catch of all time.
I'm
talking about that was ruled, in the end zone.
The one that led to the surviving the ground.
Dunaway would say it was the dude, was it the Preston kid for Alabama against
Preston
Penn State?
Gothard? I mean, that was a big no call. It was clearly a touchdown. Rusty in the chat room says Aliceville under a flood warning right now. Wasn't there a...
you didn't pull a Leon, your junk one.
No, it was not. The Des Bryant catch where he did not survive the ground and that changed
Green
the rule.
Bay.
Was that a touchdown or was that just
it
a
would
first
have been
down?
a touchdown.
Okay, so that might have been it.
Yeah, because he got up.
They changed the rule because of that.
Or maybe it was first goal, too. It was close.
I couldn't remember if he was
I
in
thought
or
he
not.
crawled in.
Yeah. So I don't know, but heck of a catch. Aaron Rodgers, is he scary anymore? He's 22 of 32, 211, 3 touchdowns last night.
No, this is, what I took from this game is I do think the Jets on any given Sunday are a really dangerous team, especially when you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You've got multiple weapons now. Devontae and Garrett Wilson, they both were super productive last night, so maybe these guys find a way to play together. But I think more importantly, like the Texans without Diggs and without Nico Collins, they are a shell of themselves offensively. And Tank Dell did step it up last night, but C.J. Stroud just was not comfortable. He was sacked 8 times. That defense really got after it. Quinnen Williams, former Alabama standout, had a sack and a half last night. But without Nico, you're not getting Diggs back. Nico will be back sooner than later. But this offense, it's gone into kind of a hole.
Yeah. A lot. Nicholas, and he's not alone in this, say this has to be Rodgers last year. I don't know that it will be. He looks diminished. I mean, he's still willing. I'm getting them to wins. Without that illegal contact, I don't think they win the game. That was a 4th down. Houston was about to take the ball back over.
Yeah.
And that was a tough call. I hate that rule in the NFL.
Know. But what do you call there?
I know. Well, I mean, the rules, every rule in the NFL benefits the offense. Like, there are very few rules that benefit the defense of the NFL. And that is one thing that is frustrating. But then I look at it also, I'm like, even with all the rules benefiting the offense, the Jets are struggling to score 21 points. Like, you almost have to have those rules just to get points in the NFL.
Yeah,
because the defenses are so good.
I do think the game looks a little different if Corley doesn't drop the ball going in.
Probably so, yeah. Probably so.
With that said, Aaron Rodgers, does he play another year? I think I said this yesterday that, I find it hard to believe that he goes out starting a full season and not making a postseason. Has Aaron Rodgers, as a starting quarterback for a full season, ever not made the postseason? The answer is no, just off the cuff. I don't think it's ever been close.
Yeah. We'll talk about, and very briefly because it was a terrible game, but the college game, in just 1 second. A reminder, Urology Centers of Alabama, your urological health is critically important. Do not ignore this part of your health. And when it comes time to address it, Urology Centers of Alabama is who you use. Guys, if you're ready to wave the white flag, you're finished having kids, they could take care of that for you as well at Urology Centers of Alabama. UrologyCentersAlabama.com. That's UrologyCentersAlabama.com or 205-930-0920 to make an appointment. Also, the lock tonight and every night. You said you had the Jets. That was a dub.
Yeah, we had the under in Tulane, Charlotte. Easy winner there.
Yeah, thank you to Charlotte.
Yeah, thank you to Charlotte.
Yes.
I mean, Tulane, though, the offense was off until the second half, and John Summerall's got a team that is cooking right now. I would love to see Tulane and Boise State.
Well, we're going to talk about those in a moment because I think that's your best 2 Group of 5 teams.
205-229-2090. That is a number you need to call. Trust the number Birmingham has trusted since 1954 for all of your plumbing, heating, and cooling needs. If you have any of these issues in your home or business, our friends are ready to serve you. Call Adam, Chad, Andrew, the guys there. Tell them the next round sent you. Hard to stop a train. For more information, hemphillservices.com.
So Tulane beats Charlotte 34-3. They are now 7-2. If you have not followed Tulane, their 2 losses are Oklahoma and can you remember the other Power 5 they lost to? Kansas State.
And that was a tight game. The Oklahoma game got away from them late. They ended up losing that game by 15. They lost the Kansas State game by 7. They had the lead for a good majority of that game. If they played Oklahoma again right now, they'd beat them.
They'd beat them. That was a different Oklahoma team, and that loss looked a lot better then than it does now, to your point. Boise's only loss, and they play tonight, Boise's only loss is at Oregon, a game they were very much in. I mean, Oregon, if I remember, Lance, returned a kickoff and a punt for a touchdown.
They did.
And that was really the difference in the game.
Yeah, Genty carved up that Duck defense.
Did.
I mean, nobody has done that to that level against Oregon this year. Here's the thing I would say about Tulane. Like, Boise's toughest games are behind them now. Tulane still got to go to Navy And they close out with Memphis, who quietly is 7-1 right now. So Tulane will really earn this. I think they'll get a look. If Boise was to lose one more game, I think there's a good chance Tulane could jump them.
I think you're right. Now, we'll find out potentially Tuesday. Election night is when the first is probably going to be a bit overshadowed in the news cycle. But that's when the first college football playoff rankings come out. I really wonder if they plan that purposefully. I don't know. I don't know why you would want to be overshadowed in the news cycle, except if you do something controversial. It's probably not going to get a ton of press on Tuesday and Wednesday. But that's when the first rankings come out. We'll see if we get any indication, how close Boise and Tulane are right now.
Yeah, I think it does hurt Tulane that they didn't play Army. I think it hurts that Navy got rolled like they did this past weekend. But I still think Tulane has a fighting shot to be that team, and I think they would represent well. I think either one of those teams. I mean, the other factor you got to look at is Boise is going to have a Heisman finalist.
They are. More on him coming up because he revealed something interesting this week.
Well, and he's got a game tonight against San Diego State. If you haven't watched Ashton Jeanty, he is one of the most electric running backs we've seen since.
I'm trying to. Okay, here's what I want to do. I don't want to go Power 5, so I'm going to go Group of 5 because I think it's a fairer comparison because there are guys on Group of 5 teams that will play a bad game like tonight because the point spread is, 23.5 in this game, Lance?
Yeah, and look, San Diego State is
they're awful.
No, they're awful against the rush, too.
Oh, God. Yeah. So he could have a big game tonight.
Oh, yeah, this could be 200+.
Do you know what his total is?
I would say right now, I haven't seen it. I will go 181.5.
Okay. We'll see if we can find it later. So I'm going to go Group of 5, and the two names I want to say are LaDainian Tomlinson and Marshall Faulk.
Okay, those are outstanding players. TCU before they were a Power 5.
Right, that's right. And the only reason I do it that way is because I'm talking about guys, Lance, that I would watch a crappy game to watch these guys play. And Marshall Faulk at San Diego State, oddly, and LaDainian Tomlinson at TCU before they were in a big conference, they'd be playing crap games, but I'd watch just to see those guys play.
Yeah, but, that was 30 years ago.
It was. So who am I missing then?
I don't know. I mean, I was just throwing it out there without knowing the answer.
I thought you had an answer in mind.
No, I do not. He's more, and our friend Brock Hewer was the first to bring this up, he is more Marshall Faulk.
Yeah. I just remember this was back before you had a ton of games. ESPN would always show that late night. The last game they would show was San Diego State. You remember this, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find this player prop. It
was San Diego State all the time because Marshall Faulk was on the team. And you'd stay up. You've watched all the SEC games. You've watched everything. And you'd stay up and you'd watch that San Diego State game just to see Marshall Faulk play. I mean, I watched him play a ton in college football.
And I think the comparison there was there is some similarities with the running style, but I think it's more – anytime Jeanty touches the ball, he has an opportunity to be gone. And that's what you saw with Faulk all the time and LT.
So guys I saw like that in the SEC recently, I'm not going to go back to the Bo Jackson, Herschel Walkers. Obviously, those were those guys. Darren McFadden was that way. If you were an opponent of Darren McFadden, if he touched the ball, you were scared.
Yeah.
I think Derrick Henry was that guy.
And when he needed a beat, you would bring in Felix Jones.
Yeah, that was a huge downgrade.
And then Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, all played in the NFL. Derrick Henry was that way. Like, as an opponent, when Derrick Henry touched the ball, he could go to the house at any time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are a few of those guys. And I'm just going recent guys, obviously.
But anyway, I still think there's people that probably haven't seen Jeanty play, and he's worth the price of admission. Like, if you got nothing to do tonight, just turn it on and watch him.
Yeah.
Play that. Go to mybookie.ag. They will have that player prop up later. I'm guessing 181.5, but play it one way or the other. Sit back, have fun. I'll go to tell you, I would play it over. I think he runs wild tonight.
I got to see how bad this defense is. Boise State, a 23.5-point favorite. As we go to break, and I'm going to check this defensive number, Odie's Tavern is a great place to watch that game. They'll have it on.
Yeah, they'll have it on. Then they'll have live music starting around 9:30, 10 o'clock tonight. Both locations, the newest location in Edgewood, the original location in Crestline. You can stop by, get a great lunch today. Good place to watch college football all day tomorrow on that patio. Odie's Tavern, the award-winning wings, delicious burgers, the Diablo sandwich, great food from Rodney Davis for over 35 years now. Get in, go see Will Haver and that great staff. 2 locations, the original Crestline, newest location, Edgewood. It's Odie's Tavern.
San Diego State's 86 against the Rush. They're averaging 159.57 against them per game. So you think that's an issue against Ashton Jeanty?
I would say it's an issue.
He's averaging, what is he averaging? 180, I think it's 197 a game. So what's he's averaging right now?
Yeah, so and I think he's another one of these guys. Bijan Robinson was the last we've seen get drafted in the first round. I think Jeanty will be a first-round guy.
Oh, I could see it. I mean, running backs just are not his first round as much, but I think they're making a little bit of a comeback. There's more running in the NFL this year.
It's hard when you've got 159 carries on a season to average right at 9 yards a carry, and that's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing. It's
18
pretty impressive.
touchdowns.
It's crazy. We're going to get to the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3 when we return. We'll run through some of these weekend games. Coming up a little bit later on, Todd Fuhrman will do the same thing. That is next on the Next Round.
Everything Next Round is on demand now in the podcast section at nextroundlive.com.
Man, I love a good meal. I'm Jim Dunaway. A good meal is what you get with my friend Sterling at Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster. We're talking great southern fried chicken, wonderful sides, hand-cut chicken fingers, po' boys, and those Mississippi Delta recipe tamales. You got a perfect menu for everybody. Champy's Chicken is perfect for watching the big game, or taking a meal to the lake house, down to the coast, or stay in the restaurant and dine in a great atmosphere. It's all made fresh to order right there on 119 in Alabaster, Champy's Chicken.
Hey, you. It's the holidays. Give cheer a lift. And at New Balance Birmingham, we got the gift. That holiday vibe? Find it inside. Come together at New Balance Birmingham on Highway 280 right next to Chick-fil-A. New Balance Birmingham, we got now.
You could win a Cadillac CT5 or your share of $25,000 in free play and cash at Birmingham Racecourse Casino. The more you visit, the more chances you have to win. Play the latest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. You can be a winner too. Come win your share during the Cadillac CT5 and $25,000 giveaway at Birmingham Racecourse Casino. Drawings April 5th and 6th. Located off I-459, exit 31, Derby Parkway. Must be 21 or older. Must be present to win.
Just because you've quit going to the gym, it doesn't mean that you have to quit gym altogether. Dunaway, that is. With our Next Round podcasts open 24/7, 365, you can access gym anytime you'd like. While you may have done away with your treadmill routine, our version of Dunaway is standing by, ready to get you back to your absolute best. Find all that lovely Jimmy D-led content on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and in the podcast section of nextroundlive.com. This message is sponsored by Jimmy Crypto Inc. and Jimmy Crypto for President.
From the creators of The Next Round comes 2 new sites, covercrimson.com and thebarnauburn.com. 2 team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. Covercrimson.com or thebarnauburn.com. Sign up today.
Hey, Lance Taylor from The Next Round to tell you about one of our favorite places for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is Hamburger Heaven since 1982. Hamburger Heaven has been serving Birmingham's best hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, hand-spun milkshakes, and sandwiches made fresh to order. All of their ingredients are fresh and prepared daily. This includes their beef, always fresh, never frozen, hand-pattied each and every day. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, visit any of the 4 locations, Highway 280, Irondale, Gardendale, and Homewood.
Happy football season. At the Next Round, we strive to make our loyal listeners feel like they're a part of the action all season long. My name is Emily Grace McWhorter, and I do that by bringing you along for any given Saturday in Auburn or Tuscaloosa. From pregame warm-ups, touchdowns that make you feel a part of the play, and everything in between, our goal is to make you feel like you're inside Bryant Denny or Jordan Hare. Follow along on our social media at Next Round Live on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Also, check out thebarnauburn.com and covercrimson.com while you're at it. Here's to fall Saturdays.
From the creators of The Next Round comes 2 new sites, covercrimson.com and thebarnauburn.com. 2 team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. CoverCrimson.com or thebarnauburn.com. Sign up today.
About to do the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3. Melton will hit the song in a second, and we'll talk about some of these games. My neighbor is an Arkansas fan. One of my neighbors was down in the cul-de-sac last night. He and his wife are big Arkansas fans from Arkansas.
It's interesting, and I'll let you finish your story, that I've seen a bunch of Arkansas tags around over the last 20, 25 years. Our former market manager is the only Arkansas fan I know, though.
Well,
I see them all the time.
Yeah, right across the street from me, two big Arkansas fans, great people, love their Hogs. He was saying last night, normally I'm just excited basketball's about to start. He said, but I'm actually excited about this football team right now. He feels good that they got a shot against Ole Miss. And I gave him the same question I think I gave you. I can't remember your answer, so I'll ask it once again. I asked you and Dunaway the other day because he asked me, he's like, Brown, what do you really think about this game? And I said, what is the most Lane Kiffin outcome? That he beats Arkansas to set up this Georgia game that's do or die for them as it relates to the college football playoff, and then, of course, loses to Georgia. Or he loses to Arkansas to knock himself out of the playoffs and then beats Georgia, and it means very little to his program. I mean, what's more Lane Kiffin to you? I could go either way on that.
Yeah, to me, more Lane Kiffin is losing the game tomorrow and then beating Georgia.
I think so, too. Yeah. That's what I told him. I was like, that's good for you as an Arkansas fan because I think that'd be the most Lane Kiffin thing ever is he finally gets that really big win, and it really does nothing for him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's what could happen. All right, look, Arkansas is good enough to beat them. You look at Arkansas, they're averaging 60 more yards per game on the ground this year with Bobby Petrino calling the plays and 1.73 yards per carry. That is significant. When Taylor Green is playing clean football, they can beat anybody. And here's a stat I bet you won't believe. Ole Miss has yet to score 28-plus on an SEC opponent. Go back and pull it and tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you are. And that's what we've talked about is Ole Miss's offense was so dominant in that non-conference, and they were playing nobody. And everybody got all caught up in the Trey Harris receiving yards, which Trey Harris is really good receiver.
No, they're really good. And Jackson Dart's a good quarterback.
Yeah, good quarterback.
He's not elite.
But he looked like the best quarterback in the SEC in September because they were playing nobody.
Yeah, if Ole Miss is going to beat Arkansas on the road, if they're going to beat Georgia, they're going to do it with their defense. And I do think Ole Miss, they lead the nation in scoring defense at 11 points per game. Are they the best defense in the nation? No, but their defense is really good. And I didn't think we would be saying the Ole Miss defense would be better than the offense, but it is.
All right, all the lines we're going to talk about in just one moment. You can play the games at nextroundlive.com in the Pick 3, the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3. All the lines we'll talk about, they're going to be a little bit different in the Pick 3. We set those on Thursday, so any changes Thursday night into Friday, it's going to change a little bit. They're going to be pretty close. All the lines originate at mybookie.ag. Code next round when you sign on to mybookie.ag. Code next round. And they are going to give you a great bonus. You make your initial deposit to play. They double that for you. Double your deposit bonus at mybookie.ag when you use code next round. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. mybookie.ag, code next round. mybookie.ag, code next round. Tonight, UConn, an 8-point favorite over Georgia State up in stores. FAU, a 2.5-point home dog at South Florida, comes down to Boca Raton. And Boise State, as we mentioned earlier, 23.5-point favorite over San Diego State up there on the blue turf. All those games available. MyBookie.ag, code next round. MyBookie.ag, code next round. Hit the great song so we'll know it's Friday, Tim Milton.
Pick three, it's time for the pick three. 3 for you and 3 for me, that equals a pick three. Say goodbye to your family, it's time for the pick three. Only time that I'm happy is when it's time for pick three.
It is right there at nextroundlive.com. The iconic song there from Rockstar, and you know it is time to play the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3, as I mentioned, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, great place to go all weekend long for over 20 years, Buffalo Wild Wings. Birmingham's best sports bar. Get in, enjoy some of the incredible wings. They've also got great sandwiches, 26 sauces and seasonings, full menu, burgers, wraps, salads, and more. Wall-to-wall TVs, 11 Central Alabama locations, including the Buffalo Wild Wings Go location in Vestavia. Stop in all weekend long.
So right there in the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3 at nextroundlive.com, you can play Ole Miss minus the 7.5. That's where we're going to play that game. The other side of what you talked about, though, is they're winning games right now when they win because of Pete Golding's defense, which is crazy, I know, for Alabama fans to hear. It broke down a little bit late in that LSU game, which has cost them a win. But that defense has played legit lately, and it's why they're winning games.
Yeah, look, and nobody can run the football on this team. And you look at Arkansas, they're 5-1 when rushing 33-plus times when they have 33 rushing attempts. Ole Miss is yet to allow 151 rushing yards to anyone. They've allowed fewer than 100 yards in 6 games. So that's going to be the difference. If Arkansas, with Taylor Green, getting out there, maybe creating, extending the plays, if they can run the football somewhat effectively, Arkansas's got a really good shot in this game.
We're going to talk more about Auburn-Vanderbilt later. We're going to play that game at 6.5 right now. But I do think, Lance, at mybookie.ag, since we locked those lines in, it has ticked up a little bit to Auburn being a 7-point favorite in this. I think Auburn fans, 7.5 now. It continues to climb. Why do you think it's climbing?
It's hit 8.
Yeah, in some places.
I think it is a lot. And again, as I say this, I just roughly go with a number of 65%. When you see massive movements like this with really smart money on it, I think they hit about 2 out of 3 times. And this is what smart money is doing. It is pushing Auburn over the top because your amount of tickets are coming in on Vanderbilt. I mean, it would be hard to lay 8 points with Auburn, 7 points with Auburn, 7.5. Would you agree? I mean,
against anybody right now, yes.
To me, it seems like Vanderbilt, I'm not saying talent-wise, but Vanderbilt seems to be the better team. 81% of the tickets right now and 68% of the money are on Vanderbilt. So with this number ticking up, it means really, really people that do this for a living are putting money on Auburn.
Yeah. So if you're an Auburn fan, you would say 2 out of 3 times. That should make you feel really, really good.
Yeah, and let me ask you what's more appealing, because 3-team teasers, people love to play them.
Right.
More appealing, Auburn plus 2.5.
Okay.
Or Vanderbilt plus 17.5.
More appealing to me would be Vanderbilt plus 17.5.
I mean, I just don't see a world where Vanderbilt loses this game by 17.5 plus points.
Well, I ask you, they've played Alabama. Did they lose that game by 17.5 points?
No.
They've played Texas. Did they lose that game by 17.5
points?
But
they were playing in the Snake Pit.
They were playing.
The most intimidating place, road venue in all of the SEC.
They were playing the game at an active construction site.
I mean, you can actually hear the trucks in reverse, can't you?
Yeah, but you have to hear them over all the opposing fans because it's the only people that are there.
I mean, I've heard them on my couch, so I know if you're in the stadium, you can hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Auburn is the play. I don't have the stones to play it, but it's the right way.
Yeah, I would not like having to have Vandy plus 17.5. They could just shorten a game so much. We've seen that. I mean, they limit your possessions with their offense. That's what they've been really good at doing to both Texas and Alabama.
Well, and that's a thing. I mean, right now, even with Auburn not playing this Vanderbilt team, they're 112th nationally in time of possession. And you look at Vanderbilt, they're number 1 in the SEC in time of possession. And Pavia, the moment's not going to be too big. He's already, is he 2-0 against Auburn?
1-0.
1-0 against Auburn and then 1-0 against Bama.
Oh, by the way, you asked this question the other day. I want to give Brent credit, a Tennessee fan. You asked the question, like, is there a quarterback that's had more than a couple of starts against the state of Alabama going undefeated? And he said there may be others, but I know T. Martin did it because he beat Alabama, Auburn, and UAB in the same year.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dang, a state Alabama guy did it.
Okay, has anybody ever owned the state with 2 different schools? Pavia is going to harder now. He can become the first.
Yeah, he could.
Do you think there's anything that Pavia really wants? I mean, obviously he wants to win the game on the road, in Jordan-Hare, take this team to 6-3, get them bowl eligible. Do you think in the back of his head he knows, like, man, I have really dominated this state?
I'm sure it has been. I have not watched all the media availabilities from Vandy this week, as you might understand. But I'm sure that's been brought up to him, right? Like, hey, you beat Alabama and you've already beaten Auburn. You're undefeated against State. So I guess he's thinking about it. I don't know that it's like a life goal of his. Later on, we're gonna give the path to Auburn to a bowl game. I want to ask Lance, can Auburn go bowling? That is, and I know that is a low bar in college football now, but the way this season started off, if you thought Auburn could get to a bowl game, you'd be happy. Well, if you're an Auburn fan, we'll discuss that later on. Ohio State, Penn State. The Buffalo Wild Wings pick they were playing this game at 3.5. Ohio State favored 3.5 in Happy Valley. Believe it or not, Penn State fan in my cul-de-sac as well last night. Steelers and Penn State fan. I was talking about him. You know what he brought up? And I don't know that he saw it on the show. He didn't mention that he saw it on the show. He brought up the fact he's like, James Franklin sucks in these games. And I was like, absolutely he does. And he even knew the number. He's like, trust me, I've watched him. He's 3-17 against the top 10 or whatever it is.
1-9 against Ohio State.
1-9 against Ohio State. But he says, but you know what? Ryan Day sucks in these games too. And I gave him the Bobby Carpenter stat.
Doesn't suck against James Franklin.
I know, and he was saying that. He was like, this is the old something's got to give. But I gave him the Bobby Carpenter stat. Okay, he's 2-5 against the top 5. That is correct. But he's 8-7 against the top 10. And this is, I know Penn State's in the top 5. This is a weird question. Penn State's in the top 5. Do they feel more like just a top 10 team to you or a top 5 team to you?
More like a top 10.
I agree.
Yeah.
So probably why you feel better about Ohio State minus 3.5.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is a much more talented team. Drew Aller, he's questionable. Probula played well, in relief in Camp Randall last weekend. I think the difference in this game, though, is Ohio State's defense. And I don't know if you realize this. They have only given up 17 or more twice since 2022. And that was
really?
This year against Oregon and then against Michigan.
I mean,
this defense has been salty.
Yeah, I mean, that's not playing against great teams all the time, but I don't care. In college football, the way offenses work.
Yeah, to look at
that's pretty
full
crazy.
years of football.
Yeah.
And in 2 full calendar years, you've only given up more than 17 twice.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So I think Ohio State will get it done. Jim Knowles and that defense, I think that will be the difference, especially if Probula is the starting quarterback and has to play a full 60 minutes against the Buckeye defense.
Yeah. So
I didn't like Will Howard, though, coming out. They didn't want to sign me. Well, neither did Ohio State until you played at Kansas State.
No.
Nobody did.
He's playing at a school that wouldn't take him until we went to another school and showed he could play.
Yeah.
I know. That is overlooked at that, right? All right, so Buffalo Wild Wings pick 3. We're going to continue. Buffalo Wild Wings, great locations everywhere.
Yeah, make sure you stop in all weekend long. NFL Sunday Ticket, of course. Anything you want college football-wise. They've got 11 Central Alabama locations, including the Buffalo Wild Wings Go location right there in Vestavia. It's a scaled-down version of the full-size Buffalo Wild Wings. Counter service, offering takeout and delivery. Still the option to dine in and enjoy the games with 40 seats, multiple TVs. Get in all weekend to Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, all these lines originate from mybookie.ag, code next round, mybookie.ag, code next round. I know you're locked in on Indiana and Michigan State. What is the latest on Rourke?
He's playing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's playing. I don't know if he's 100%.
Yeah, he's going to go. And when you look around at this Indiana team, they basically lead the Big Ten in everything. I mean, they lead the Big Ten in scoring. They lead the Big Ten in sacks, tackles for loss. I'm not going to say I discovered this Indiana team, but
you're one of the first I heard. I'll give you credit.
On my right TV, I had them up the entire game when they played in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. I had a big play early in the season, and I was shocked at how good they were. Third down situations, how well they tackled, just how disciplined the team was. It jumped off the screen. And they are one of 2 teams, very well documented yet, that they have not trailed in 2024. They have not given up a first quarter point. This is how you don't trail. When you outscore your opponents 87-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah, that helps. But, I mean, it is, and I know they've not played a back-breaking schedule. I'm not going to try to sell that Indiana has. But this game will be played on November 2nd, and they have not trailed. That is incredible.
Yeah, no, I
mean, they don't give up.
And let me ask you this: everybody knows Curtis Rourke by now. Justice Ellison is one of these backs people talk about, but they've got 6 players with 15+ receptions. They spread it out all over the place. It's a very selfless team that are playing together, and I think they know what's in front of them. I mean, they've got the most rushing attempts in the Big Ten. A lot of that is they're playing in front with 391. Their top 4 running backs are all transfers, but they're all playing for a common goal. They believe they're going to be in the college football playoff. I believe they're going to be in the college football playoff. But again, going into East Lansing, this team's going to get a little better each and every week under Jonathan Smith. You turn it over a couple of times, you could lose.
This is one of those 2 things you love are about to collide right here. You love Jonathan Smith. You have always been a big Jonathan Smith guy, and you love this Indiana team. So.
Yeah, I probably will stay away from the game. I'm not going to just fade Indiana to fade them. I've been very stubborn in the past and done that against certain teams, but Indiana ain't going to be one of those I mess with. Michigan State has won 12 of 15 against Indiana. I expect Indiana to win this game. Is this finally a game they have to win by a possession? We shall see. But I'm pulling for Indiana. Like, I'm adopting Indiana this year now that USC sucks. Who would have thought Indiana's undefeated and USC's completely out of everything?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's this world of college football. Yeah. It's the world we're living in college football.
But that is the team I'm pulling for moving forward.
You're all in on Indiana?
I'm all on, yeah.
Okay.
All in.
All in on the Hoosiers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like a two-loss Hoosiers team gets in?
I don't know.
But
I don't think they're going to have 2 losses.
This becomes a really big game then if don't think a 2-loss Hoosiers team gets in.
You get by this game, you're 9-0, and then
you got to feel pretty good. Ohio State's still there, but that's
Michigan's
only one loss.
Still there.
Yeah,
I think.
They look like a better team than Michigan.
Michigan, the Davis Warren thing, and I know we'll get to this game, is a really incredible story. What's maybe not as incredible, but the fact that Michigan is this bad at quarterback after J.J. McCarthy last year. But they've come back to Davis Warren. I think they realize now they just don't have a quarterback. So they've got to get back to, Sharon Moore knows, Mullings and Edwards running the football is their only path to victory. Defense has got to play suffocating. And this, to me, is kind of that last gasp. If they were to go out and play Oregon tight, then they've got a little bit of life. But if Oregon runs them off the field, if Oregon plays like they did last week against Illinois, Michigan's got no shot. But, Oregon has shown some chinks in the armor, and I think this might be a day tomorrow in the big house where Michigan keeps this one really close.
We do not play totals on the Buffalo Wild Wings pick 3. You can play them at mybookie.ag, but Royal Payne brings up the mybookie.ag chat. The Nebraska UCLA total, I am looking where they're playing it. He says he's seen it at 39.5.
I was about to say 40.
Now, listen, we saw a Iowa total in the 20s last year, did we not? They got down to 29.5 at one point last year.
I mean, you couldn't get it low enough.
You really could not, could you?
Yeah, and our buddy Fuhrman, who will join us today, he said it. Like, when you have totals that low in college football, you have to have things go. Forgot how he phrased it.
I don't remember, but, I mean, it went bad for Iowa every single game.
Actually, things have to go right for you all of the time to be able to get a total like that, to get an under.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, because you get, one special teams play, one punt return, one kick return, one block punt, one pick six. It completely flips a total like that.
I made it my sneaky good game, but I did it with the asterisk that you're going to have to love low-scoring defensive football. And see, that's the problem with these games, Lance, is I never know, is it good defense or just crappy offense? In this case, I think it's just going to be crappy offense.
See,
although Nebraska played really good defense against Ohio State last week.
And that's one of those, even if you're locked in on the under, to me, a winner's a winner. But, I give out, there were some people that were upset that I gave out the under in Tulane Charlotte last night. Although it hit, people just don't want to sit back and watch 3 hours of, dude, I want them to punt again. I want them to punt again.
Well, then, I guess my recommendation would be
play it, don't watch it.
That's right. Play it, don't watch it, or watch it, don't play it. One of the two. But either way, you just got to go where the winners are. And that was a winner, by the way.
That was a winner, yes.
What was the total? Because 37 was the...
it's 56.5.
Oh, so you were way under.
Yeah.
You have to watch the end of that. So if you like low-scoring games, I'm not going to call it good defensive football, but low-scoring games, you can watch that one. We're going to do much more of the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3 coming up a little bit later on. A lot more games. Still got to get to the cocktail party, Texas A&M and South Carolina. We're going to get to all those on the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3. As always, it's presented by our friends at B-Dubs.
Yeah, make sure you stop into one of those locations all weekend long. 11 Central Alabama locations, including the Buffalo Wild Wings Go location in Vestavia. They've been the #1 sports bar in Birmingham over 20 years. Wall-to-wall TVs, all locations, 26 sauces and seasonings, along with a full menu of burgers, wraps, and salads. It is Buffalo Wild Wings.
Rusty says Michigan will have a quarterback next year, a top-tier quarterback after Dave Portnoy of Barstool fame has offered as much as $3 million for a top quarterback at Michigan every year. He's arrogant enough to spend that money. I don't know that it's arrogance. I think he realizes actually really good marketing, and it's a team he loves, so there is the return on that investment.
And there's got to be some sort of a write-off for Barstool or himself.
Or he's got a sponsor tied into it. I mean, look, he's a good businessman. The guy's not just doing something stupid.
Yeah, look, High Noon.
Yeah.
And what is the deal with, could you go out and recruit a 21-year-old and have them endorse?
Alcohol endorsement, I think, is tricky with the NCAA. I'm not entirely certain how that works.
I don't know. I'll tell you, if I had his money and I could figure out a way to write it off and I only take a little bit of the blowback and I can have an elite quarterback, Michigan would be completely different. I know we use this. This is the go-to. But Cam Ward has single-handedly gotten Miami to 8-0. And this is only the second time Miami has been 8-0 in the ACC. Do you know the other time Miami was 8-0? We thought
in
that
the
they
ACC
would dominate this conference when they came in 20 years ago.
Because Larry Coker, that was still Big East, right?
Yep.
They weren't ACC. Last time Miami was 8-0 in the ACC, was it under Mark Richt? Did he ever have an 8-0?
Mark Richt in 2017, they opened 10-0. Remember, they got as high as number 2.
Yeah.
And it was the only time they've ever played an ACC championship game.
And they got smashed by Clemson, didn't they, in that game, as I remember it, yeah.
It's going to be hard for Miami not to find their way into the ACC championship game this late, undefeated in the season. How about this? Duke is looking to become the first ACC team ever to beat Florida State and Miami in the same season.
But I'm surprised at that.
You would think that Clemson would have gotten them.
As bad as Miami and Florida State have been since they both joined the ACC, I'm surprised nobody's ever done that.
I am too.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
First team ever, or first team in the ACC era?
Well, in the ACC era with Miami and Florida State in it.
both of them being in there. Royal Payne follows up, if Brown won the lottery, would NIL at Jack State grow? I mean, if I had extensive funds, sure, I'd give some money to Jack State's NIL. I wouldn't mind seeing them go get a good player or two.
Yeah, but does that become a situation like our man Phil Boozer, good friend of ours, he's at every game.
Every game.
Which is great because he loves it.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like if I'm that invested, I need to be at every game, and then it kind of ruins everything else. Now, if you've got that kind of money, you've got your own suite, and the way I do it, much like when I went through a transitional phase back in 2016, and I had a temporary location to live for a year.
Transitional phase.
I made them put 5 TVs up for me.
Right.
So I almost, if I had that kind of money, I would have a suite and I would have the 5 TVs.
Yeah.
And I would just get to the stadium early, and it didn't matter what time of the game, and I would just stay there all day and invite friends and cater it.
See, I think if I gave to the NIL, I'd go to the midweek games and probably stay at home on Saturday.
Okay.
I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean that's what I do now. I've been to one midweek game.
I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and maybe it's just a hobby of mine, and maybe it's my only hobby I've got. I don't know. But, like, if I list my most enjoyable things to do, Saturday on the couch is number one.
Oh, a Saturday on college football.
And I've gotten
incredible.
to the point sometimes when nobody's around. Like, Jack will have a couple of friends upstairs, and it's just me and Bullet and Chili on the couch.
You sit around naked?
I don't sit around naked, but I am completely content with that.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I do that a lot of Saturdays.
Because that's when I really can focus in and watch. You get a couple of people over, you get a conversation about the Vince McMahon documentary, and miss a play here or there.
I will, yes, I can see that happening. I will, I'll go an entire Saturday and realize I haven't been outside. And I'll also like it, like when, and I'm down in I don't have windows in my basement. I know you've got windows.
Yeah.
But the only reason I know what time it is because the 2:30 kick is starting, or the 2:30 games are ending. We're going to the primetime games. Otherwise, I don't know if sun's up, sun's down.
I used to have mine caved up. It was like a probably like a pencil lead gray, really dark down there.
Yeah.
And I had the blinds covering everything. I've ripped some of the blinds out like we did in the front room here, and the whole thing is white now.
Oh.
So it's really lightened up.
Yeah. So it's light down there?
I like it more, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's no problem, obviously. All right, more of the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3 coming up. As we go to break, we're about to talk to Todd Fuhrman. A reminder of Johnston RV Center, our friend Nick Johnston and the entire staff at Johnston RV Center. As we flip into November and you can feel a little cooler weather in the air there, cooler temperatures in the air, and you see those leaves changing, Johnston RV Center wants you to go see that in America. JohnstonRVCenter.com. Great discounts, especially to those brave men and women who have served in the military. Travel trailers, $145 a month. It's where they start. Fifth Wheel, savings $45,000 and more. If you're a veteran or you're active duty, just as a very, very small way of saying thank you, they give you a great discount. I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Todd Fuhrman is next.
Follow Scott Forrester on Twitter at scottforestertv.
Bright Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Hey, let me tell you about our friends at Urology Centers of Alabama. Compassionate and comprehensive urological care with 35 physicians, 17 locations across Alabama. Their patient-centered approach to all of your urological needs. Remember, they've got that new men's health center. It is beautiful, helping men with a wide range of sensitive male issues in a comfortable environment. You can always go online, visit urologycentersalabama.com, schedule an appointment with one of their many urologists today.
Hey, you. It's the holidays. Give cheer a lift. And at New Balance Birmingham, we got the gift. That holiday vibe? Find it inside. Come together at New Balance Birmingham on Highway 280 right next to Chick-fil-A. New Balance Birmingham. We got now.
This hour of The Next Round is presented by the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, now featuring 7 days of giveaways with your chance to win a share of up to $125,000. The more you visit the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, the more chances you have to win.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, you're in the red zone for every college rivalry and divisional matchup all season long. On game day, you never have to decide which teams to watch, only what combination of bites, burgers, wings, and more to order. Plus, where else are your favorite draft beers always poured at a frozen 29 degrees? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Stick around after the sun sets. Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites. Only at Twin Peaks.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
Follow Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The social media team at Next Round Live is dedicated to giving you daily news conferences and practice video from UAB, Alabama, Auburn, and around college football. Follow and compare to the sites you used to visit. You'll also get the latest highlights and news from the Next Round Daily Show. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. Next Round Live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. See more at nextroundlive.com.
By now, you guys know how I feel about my fashion. However, did you know that I care about your fashion choices? Cargo shorts are out, flip-flops are only appropriate on the boat, and please throw away that stained t-shirt from college. You may be thinking, EG, that's all I own. What do I do? Here's what you do. Go to nextround.store and fill your cart with a wardrobe that is approved by me. Stock up on logo t-shirts, hoodies for football season, and hats for every day of the week. Trust me on this one and head over to nextround.store to get stocked up for this season.
Ryan Brown here for the Next Round. Join me and CBS sports analyst Brandon Marcello for the Middle Eight each Monday at 8 a.m. as we look back at the weekend of college football from the SEC to the top 25 of the college football playoff. It's the Middle Eight, presented by mybookie.ag, code Next Round.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the Next Round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
We continue on the Next Round. It is a Friday edition. Dunaway is out there with Fuhrman in Vegas. I wonder if the lights are still on. You think Dunaway's caused him to turn the lights out yet in Vegas? Leave, sir, please. We can only take so much. Leave.
I don't know what his table game is.
I think he's playing a lot of golf out there, but I'm with you. I don't know. Todd Fuhrman joins us now, though, bettheboardpodcast.com. Did you see the lights flicker a little bit, Fuhrman? Are they struggling to keep the power on with Dunaway out there?
The lights actually get brighter because Dunaway donates so much money to the casino. So if you see the sphere all the way back in Birmingham, it's because Dunaway has given away all his money and then some at the sports books, at the tables, and everywhere else. But I don't want to send Dunaway a thank you by any stretch because this is the coldest it's been all year long out here. I mean, temperatures dipping into the low 40s, so Dunaway can take that with him back to Alabama.
Who the hell goes on a guy's golf trip to Vegas and it drops to the 40s?
I mean, if he's out there with these early tee times right now, hopefully he's a little bundled up. It's a different desert cold out here. It should at least get up in the mid-60s, though, if they're playing late morning, early afternoon.
So Dunaway, he goes to Vegas, and it's the coldest snap they've had in forever.
Yeah, I do.
Only fitting, boys, only fitting.
I want to go back last week in the NFL before we hit last night. But in a sports book, I've been in there for the Chris Duhon shot that – I felt like sending him a basket against UConn in the Final Four. I've told that story on the air before, where a meaningless three actually covers for Duke in the Final Four. And the sports book was absolutely quiet because everybody had UConn in that actual game, including Billy Walters. I think it was out that he had UConn. And so the casino was completely quiet. The sports book was. What was the reaction like with the Hail Mary? Because I assume majority of public money was on Washington.
It's the kind of game, too, with two prominent fan bases that haven't been able to enjoy a ton of success over the last handful of years. We'll go even further than that. We'll call it the last 15 to 20 years as they continue to look for their franchise quarterbacks. And to see the momentum swings throughout that fourth quarter for a Bears team that looked like they were done, and let's not sugarcoat it, they weren't the right side in that game, but looked like they were going to steal not only the win, but more importantly, the cover. And then, of course, you mentioned you get the Hail Mary, and it's a side the books did not need in that particular spot, so they were none too thrilled with that outcome. But the folks that I spoke to said one of the more electric finishes that you'll see by NFL standards, especially with regular season games, knowing how well Bears fans and Commanders fans love to travel out here to the desert during the NFL season.
I'm sure most of the sports books needed the Jets last night. I don't know if you were actually in a location when Malachi Corley decided to do something that it seems like we see it every single year in the NFL. It's amazing. Drops the ball going in. I backed the Jets last night. I thought that was going to be the death knell. They end up pulling it out. But what was the word with Malachi Corley?
I would have been furious if I had Malachi Corley for the first touchdown score at a price tag of 100 to 1. Let me put it that way.
Wow.
With some of the numbers that were out there. From a book's perspective, though, they weren't exactly getting a whole lot of action in that particular prop market. But you mentioned it, LT. I don't understand what these players do or how this serves as a badge of honor to try and drop the ball before you get into the end zone. I know at the college level with younger kids, you can understand sometimes they get excited. But, I kind of joked that, look, I mean, if this is going to happen at the NFL level, I'd run this kid into the ground so that mistake never happens again. And to your point, for a Jets team that was extremely fragile, wasn't sure they were going to be able to overcome that level of adversity, but clearly the better side in the second half. And you mentioned where the sportsbooks came in that game. About 80% of the money line tickets in that contest were all on Houston. So a good decision for the house as they look to kind of build back after what's been a choppy few weeks compared to how good September was from the bookmaker perspective.
Todd Fuhrman is with us. BetTheBoardPodcast.com. At Todd Fuhrman on social media is where you find him. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, so where you find him right now. All the games at BetTheBoardPodcast.com, BetTheBoardPodcast.com. I'll address something with you that I just addressed with Lance. This Auburn number continues to tick up. 7.5, 8, wherever you look right now. Lance says this is smart money, and probably 2 times out of 3, 66% of the time, that's a good news for Auburn. Is this smart money coming in on Auburn at the last minute, and why?
It is indeed, and we saw the buy come in at 6.5 all the way up through the 7 on the Tigers. So as you get into that 7.5, 8 range now, you're not going to see money from respected bettors unless there's something else that newsworthy that may break around this Vanderbilt team. We saw the price get as high as 8 out here before a little bit of buyback. Auburn offensively kind of looked like the complete package last week for the first time in a long time. When you dig into the box score, see 500 yards of total offense, 170 through the air, and more importantly, the ground game got on track, averaging 7 yards per carry with 320 plus. We know there is a little bit of a revenge component for Auburn this week, not necessarily against Vanderbilt, but who the man Vanderbilt will have under center is in Diego Pavia, given how things went at Jordan-Hare last year when New Mexico State came in there and won the game outright as more than a 3-touchdown underdog. But the other component that works in Auburn's favor in this game is Vanderbilt playing such a grueling schedule in recent weeks. You begin to wonder if this team is running on fumes. Going back to the last time that Vandy had a bye after they double overtime loss to Missouri, they've now played Alabama, Kentucky, Ball State, a little bit of a get-right game, and Texas. This isn't an overly deep roster. They've been one of the surprise stories in the SEC. But if Auburn, with all of those factors, and Diego Pavia, Jerry Kill getting the best of them, and Hugh Freeze in multiple locations, you'd have to imagine this is an all-in effort where I think Auburn can go out there and cover, but I would not be running the latest 7.5. I just wouldn't be backing Vandy where the market currently sits.
You call them rocking chair games, and you have gotten one in every single Indiana game. I mean, they have outscored their opponents 87-0 in the first quarter, one of 2 teams yet to trail in 2024. Curtis Rourke is going to play the number 7.5. I've played Indiana a couple of times. I'm not going against them. I know the public money will continue to pour on Indiana, but they have been I know people like to watch competitive games, Fuhrman, but if I've got a favorite, I want an ass whipping. I like to sit back and have the rocking chair game, and that's what you get with Indiana. So I don't know how many people are still backing them, but I wouldn't play Michigan State, would you?
Anyone who tells you they want to sweat and they're doing this professionally is completely full of it. You want a game that's 47-0. You have a 3-touchdown lead at the end of the first quarter, and you can comfortably flip that game off. If you want to be in a 4-quarter fight in all of this racket, I tip my hat because it's definitely not what I'm looking for more often than not. You mentioned the return of Curtis Rourke, and I think it's always interesting to see how the betting market is priced early in the week amid speculation compared to when that news becomes confirmed. And Taven Jackson last week in the win against Washington and the cover for the Hoosiers threw the ball a grand total of 1 time in the second half. Now, unbeknownst to me, Steve Belichick, despite realizing that Indiana was going to continue to run, never committed 8 guys to the box, and Indiana did what they wanted when they wanted. This, however, is a little bit more of an uphill battle for the Hoosiers here. When you go through the schedule, they haven't exactly played in daunting road venues by any stretch of the imagination, at UCLA in the Rose Bowl and at Northwestern for their makeshift stadium by the lake. Now, I'm not going to say Michigan State at 3:30 Eastern is going to feel like going into Death Valley for a nighttime kickoff, but it is a little bit of a different dynamic. Curtis Rourke with that surgery on his thumb. Let's see how he grips the football and what the velocity looks like. The one thing for Michigan State we've seen all year is that Jonathan Smith gets this team to have good scripts out of the gates. It was on display last week against Michigan. They just left some points on the board. So if you want to fade Indiana here, I'd be much more inclined to back Michigan State plus the 4 in the first half rather than getting involved for the full 60 minutes.
All right, something's got to give. James Franklin is awful against top 5 teams, top 10 teams even. Ryan Day is not great against top 5 teams, and all his losses are in big games. So something's got to give here. Ohio State about a 3.5-point favorite in Happy Valley. What gives in this game?
And this is a number that's actually come down. We've seen some money come in on Penn State with the Buckeyes opening in that 3.5-4 range. We'll call 3 kind of the prevailing price tag at this point. And you mentioned both of these coaches' shortcomings in games of this magnitude. I mean, James Franklin now 1-12 versus AP top 5 teams as a Penn State head coach, having lost 10 straight since 2021. Penn State 0-6 versus Ohio State and Michigan. They're 35-5 versus every other team in the country. But on the flip side, Ryan Day just 2-6 versus AP top 5 teams as Ohio State's head coach. He's 60-3 in all other games. Both of these teams, when you try and identify their weaknesses, for me, come on the offensive line. There's a chance Ohio State could be down to their 3rd-string left tackle. They didn't protect Will Howard at all last week against Nebraska, and they were unable to get the ground game on track, so much so that it was one of the worst offensive performances that we've seen from the Buckeyes in recent memory. Now, on the other side for Penn State, who will start under quarterback remains one of the major questions, and James Franklin is not going to tip his hand. But I'm not sure it matters all that much, given Penn State's lack of weaponry, especially in the receiving game, outside of Tyler Warren, who's emerged as a legitimate threat at tight end. For me, though, guys, it boils down to the number. And we saw Ohio State close right in this price range for their trip out to Eugene, a few weeks ago. Given how Penn State has performed, I have some questions about this team defensively, despite all the counting stats that show that this is one of the elite groups in the country. USC was able to move the ball through the air, and Bowling Green earlier this year did as well. I actually think it's a buy low spot for Ohio State. Haven't gotten there yet on the Buckeyes, but I'd want no part of the home underdog in this kind of stage.
Fuhrman, as unpredictable as 2024 has been, some things are still very predictable. Saturday night in Columbia, South Carolina, hosting red-hot Texas A&M, yet to lose in conference. South Carolina catching 3. I know they've lost 8 consecutive games to ranked teams. It just seems like the right side.
Yeah, dog or pass for sure in this particular spot. A&M, in my opinion, a little bit fortunate with that second half comeback. They make the change as Connor Wegman started the game 6 for 18. Marcel Reed provides the spark, but more importantly for A&M, the defense was able to disrupt the LSU offensive line, force Garrett Nussmeier into some turnovers. Now, the one thing here, and why I don't see South Carolina as a slam dunk despite being the side as a 3-point dog, do you trust Lenoris Sellers against that Mike Elko defense? It's going to scheme things up, provide some unique looks that he hasn't grown accustomed to in the past, but it's hard to understate the importance of a bye this late in the conference schedule. South Carolina, multiple weeks to prepare, and as you guys know as SEC fans that a lot of the country doesn't, how difficult a place this can be to play, and from an underrated home field advantage at Williams-Brice Stadium. So at +3, I like the Gamecocks here. Hope I'm wrong that A&M can remain undefeated, but it's South Carolina or pass from a single game perspective.
All right, let me take care of the people here. MyBookie.ag chat room with a couple of requests of you. Do you have an over you like in college and the NFL? Both.
Over for me in college would be USC and Washington. I know Washington has looked relatively inept. They had 7 trips inside Indiana's 35 last week and didn't come away with nearly the output that you would like to see. I look at a metric when I handicap totals called yards per point, and Washington is one of the most inefficient teams in the country, ranking outside the top 120. If they correct some of that against a very banged-up USC defense, I think this is a buy low opportunity, so I'll go over 55.5. In the game in Seattle. And in the NFL, Jameis Winston, guys, is an upgrade under center for the Cleveland Browns. He allows them to be a little bit more dynamic in their passing game, got Cedric Tillman involved, along with Elijah Moore, and I think this is a Chargers team as well that started the year running the football, especially when Justin Herbert was hurt, but has gotten to be a little bit more aggressive throwing downfield. And when I look at that over-under at 42, surprisingly good weather in Cleveland for us this time of year. I'll go over the total between the Browns and Chargers.
All right. Keith keeps up with it. He says a tough loss last week in the under-the-radar pick, but he's still on board with you. He still says he'll give $100 to the animal shelter out there in Vegas with any wins there, so he wants that under-the-radar pick that is 5-1 now.
Yeah, last week, a little unfortunate. Right before kickoff, we get one of the top wide receivers in the game ruled out, and didn't get either of those teams to force to push pace or tempo, so we do come up a bit short. We're going to get the under-the-radar pick out of the way early this week, and you won't have to wait till Saturday. It'll unfold tonight. We're going to take Georgia State plus the 7.5 against UConn. This was a UConn team that was undervalued, in my opinion, early in the season. Had some dominant performances against FAU and against Buffalo, but the offense has come back to earth a little bit. And while I don't love Georgia State's run defense in this particular spot, they, in my opinion, have played a much more difficult strength of schedule recently within the Sun Belt. UConn has played what feels like 8 home games in a row. I think it's actually 6. And sometimes that can work against you when you get lulled into that false sense of security. So I think Georgia State more than a puncher's chance to pull off the outright upset tonight. I like Georgia State plus the 7.5, but you might want to grab it now. There's a good chance this number ticks towards 7 before kickoff.
Uh-oh, it's at 8 right now at mybookie.ag, so even better.
That is the best number that you're going to find out there. So I would encourage folks to grab the 8 at mybookie.ag for sure.
Look at Furman.
Hey, Furman, I do have I finally got off the snide with Notre Dame on the early window last week.
You're not allowed to bet 12 o'clock Eastern games, LT.
Hey.
It's part of your 10 commandments.
Hey, I am telling you, Minnesota is an absolutely winner in the morning.
Illinois, the big question, and they've played their cards a little bit tight to their vest as well, figuring out if Pat Bryant is going to be available. If he can't go for the Fighting Illini, it changes a lot of what they want to do offensively. This is a Gophers team, I'll be honest. I haven't quite been able to figure out what they are, but Darius Taylor, one of the more unheralded running backs in the country, Max Brosmer has taken to this offense, and I think Minnesota defensively will be okay here. The number no doubt suggests it's a lay it or don't play it with the road favorite. I haven't gotten there myself just yet, but may have to take another deep dive with your ringing endorsement for the Golden Gophers on the road in Champaign.
Ringing endorsement.
Yeah, and I'll go and I'll sneak it in. I looked at Brown when you said Georgia State, and I gave the thumbs up. I've got all 3 games up right now at Lance's lock, but I like Georgia State as well.
Okay. Yeah, he did give me a thumbs up. He was very happy that you went Georgia State there.
Well, your off-the-radar games have been fantastic.
Oh, my gosh, 5-1.
Yeah, trying to dig a little bit, and we took a divergent pass last week, going with the total route. Still a bet that I would make again. Unfortunately, just didn't get that barrage of scoring that we needed to kind of push pace and tempo, and you get what you get sometimes when you bet overs in Wyoming games. But full disclosure here, I didn't want to send the listeners back to that well. I have gone back to the Wyoming over well this week. Took a small nibble over 59.5 against New Mexico.
Okay, Wyoming over, the under-the-radar pick, Wyoming over. I gotcha. Hey, before you go, and I'm not asking you to make a pick or anything. I'm just asking you as a guy that follows the betting markets, and it should be noted that gambling on the presidential election is illegal in the United States.
Is it?
It's illegal.
I've done it a bunch.
Is it not? Am I wrong about that, Fuhrman? Or?
No, you are correct.
Okay.
It is illegal. So if you want to play through a regulated operator, not through LT's corner bookmaking operation here, that you have to go up to the province of Ontario. That's going to be the closest spot that you can do it. MGM does offer presidential election odds, but not here in the States. They do in Canada.
I bet mybookie.ag's got it.
They 100%.
Mybookie.ag has all those. I'm sure you can bet each electoral college vote state by state as well. I haven't been on the website to see, but I have seen plenty of those markets as well.
I'm just curious if you followed it just from purely not which candidate you want to win, but just from a gambling market standpoint.
I have, and I always think it's fascinating. I will say with the presidential market, when you try and figure out that supposed sharp money versus sports, it's a little bit different. You get people who are more emotionally invested in something of this magnitude compared to a football game. You can't try and dig into some of the stats or find, an under-the-radar metric that you think will impact the potential outcome. And this is an election that we've seen some of the stories breaking for sites like Polymarket and stuff, where they're talking about potential manipulation because it can drive the narrative and storyline. So it's always interesting to try and see. The one thing, though, that we have grown accustomed to, and we don't have a massive sample size for presidential elections, the favorite has typically done very well. 2016, though, notwithstanding, when Trump won that election, Hillary Clinton was upwards of a $3 or $4 favorite going into that election in 2016. So something to keep in mind, and you will see plenty of volatility. I'm not sure if mybookie.ag will offer live betting throughout the course of the night on Tuesday, but watching those odds is always fascinating as long as people don't get too emotionally involved with some of the swings as the votes start coming in from states on the East Coast and as we progress across the country.
Fascinating. All right, Fuhrman, thank you for the picks. Enjoy the weekend. Always great talking with you, my friend.
Always a pleasure. And Brownie, make sure LT's not drinking too much of that Rams Kool-Aid. I figured he'd be trying to run to the window to bet the Rams to win the NFC West with a healthy receiving room now.
You know what's crazy, Fuhrman, is we talked about this yesterday. I went as Eric Dickerson for Halloween on the panel here.
Oh, you got to see it. It's really good.
And Dan Orlovsky joins us every Thursday, and I asked him about the Rams and, this Rams team getting healthy. And we both agree, if they stay healthy, watch out. And then Puka leaves practice early, and it looks like it's the same knee. And without Puka, it's a completely different offense.
100%. With Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp out there, this is a dynamic group. The win-loss record with those two, along with Kyren Williams and a healthy Matthew Stafford, don't lie. And you look at the NFC West from top to bottom. I'm not buying the Arizona Cardinals after back-to-back semi-fraudulent wins, in my opinion. I'm not sure the 49ers are going to return to that juggernaut that we've seen. And what I think people aren't talking enough about, and we'll see a little bit more this week against the Seahawks, it's a young Rams defense where you're starting to see players come of age. And when you look at the tandem of defensive players they drafted out of Florida State, Jared Verse is an absolute beast. And most of college football didn't really get to see him at his best because Mike Norvell kept him on a snap count. But there's a reason that he is an overwhelming favorite in that market, and a lot of reason to be optimistic about the Rams and what this team can be if they stay healthy on both sides of the ball.
Okay, before you roll, we've done it. UConn is ticked down. It's only 7 now.
Uh-oh, look out.
Every now and again, boys, a blind squirrel finds a nut, or I just happen to know where some of these markets may be going before they get there.
That's all right. Fuhrman always with the inside info. Hey, great talking to you, buddy. Have a fun weekend.
Hey, always a pleasure, gents. Enjoy the games this weekend, and good luck at the window, LT.
You too. We'll see you, Fuhrman. Todd Fuhrman with us, bettheboardpodcast.com. Academy Sports and Outdoors, brand new location right there in Birmingham, right here in Birmingham, Highway 280. It's the Target Shopping Center, the old Best Buy up there. That's where you find them right now with the best in sports equipment, outdoor gear, apparel, and footwear from the brands you love, all at everyday low prices. A wide selection of trusted brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, Shimano, and more. Academy Sports and Outdoors, Highway 280 in Birmingham. Grand opening. Lance is growing that hair back. He's not wearing a hat today, so you can see it with our guy, Dr. B.
Yeah, T3hair.net. When I started to thin out, the first call I made was to Dr. B. Everybody said Dr. Beckenstein, the best in the business for more than 20 years. Women and men have turned to Dr. B for a lot of different situations, especially maintaining the hair growth. Again, I do the non-invasive treatment 3 times a week, 30 minutes each time on the couch. That is it. My hair has more than doubled in thickness. Brown is now doing it.
Yep.
For more information, T3hair.net. And one of the reasons I'm hat free today, after the Jer curl, I was afraid that chemical might completely make my head bald.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to breatd today.
That's right. You let that breathe. Let some oxygen get on there.
T3hair.net.
We don't have it start.
Where does mybookie.ag have the election? I would say right now Trump is minus 225. By the way, Trump very visible in the McMahon documentary.
Oh, is he in there a lot?
This is gonna be shocking. He actually wrestled back in the day.
Yeah, so
wrestled. What did he do?
He managed a wrestler that competed on his behalf. Yeah.
So there's 2 ways you can bet at mybookie.ag if you desire to in the presidential election. I'm not. One reason I ask Fuhrman this is I just don't know how efficient these markets are.
Well, he's right about this. People that put money on this, there will be some people that are trying to get an angle and they're actually trying to win money. But more of this is people that are passionate about one candidate or the other.
Well, but because to his and the narrative setting, to his point, if a ton of people went and bet Auburn up to a 10-point favorite, is that really going to affect the outcome of the game that much? I mean, maybe it gives Vandy some motivation, but if people see a candidate lagging or a candidate pushing forward, it changes people's opinions sometimes. It changes their desire to go vote sometimes. So it could have a massive impact.
Yeah, and I think so going back to 2020, I did have Trump on the money line, and I had him early, and I think I got him at like minus 180, and there was a point I think he was like minus 800. And from that standpoint, it looked like there was inside information on where these votes were going.
Right.
And I do think there's some early polling that some of the Vegas insiders get a hold of, and those are the guys that aren't playing with their heart. There's no emotion involved at all. It's all about finding the best angle and the information to actually cash your ticket.
These numbers are moving in all likelihood based on early voting numbers, and you don't know who they voted for, but you know how many Republicans have voted and how many Democrats, registered Republicans and registered Democrats. You can make a guess who they're voting on if they're registered Republicans and Democrats.
Right, yeah.
So you get an idea on that. Right now at mybookie.ag, Donald Trump is minus 165 to be the next president. Kamala Harris plus 140.
So that's dropped a little bit.
It has. Yeah. But you can also bet on the popular vote. So that would be basically Electoral College. The popular vote, Kamala Harris minus 250, Donald Trump plus 200. So, and you can play, you can play it a lot different. Winning percentages, things like that, percentage of the vote. So you can play all that at mybookie.ag.
I thought 4 years ago, and I know we don't get into politics here, I thought it was not only the most polarizing election we've ever had, but I thought maybe it was the most important. Mm-hmm. This is by far the biggest election we've ever been a part of, right?
I think we're probably going to say that every year.
You think so?
Yeah. I just think it's the way the country's going.
I didn't feel it like 8, 12, 16 years ago.
Well, I know, because most elections didn't feel 50-50, and all of them do now. So I think that's the way it's just going to be moving forward.
Yeah, but I think our society seemed more 50-50, right?
It is. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but I'm just talking about like you've got so far extreme right, so far extreme left, everything. I don't know.
Speaking of hair. Ashton Jeanty made a bet before the season that he revealed on SportsCenter this week.
He ain't cutting that hair.
That he's not going to have to. But if he didn't hit 2,000 yards, he would cut his hair. Now, that was before the season. 2,000 yards for a college running back is a lot.
Now, was there a clause, if I get hurt, I don't play a full 12 games?
I don't know. Maybe it was the full 12 games. He's at 1376 going into tonight. If you missed it earlier, Lance has told you San Diego State's rush defense isn't great. It's 86 nationally. 1376 going into tonight. But he's got 5 games left. On his average, he rushes for 23.58.
When you look at the opponents, if he stays healthy and if Spencer Danielson, his head coach, wants to continue to give him 20-plus carries a game, he's going to break this record.
Yeah, he's at 23.58. What's the record?
Oh, Barry Sanders is 22-something, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. But, unfortunately for Barry Sanders, they didn't count his bowl game.
That is true, and Jeanty will get that 13th game.
Yeah.
Or maybe even more if they're in the playoffs and pull an upset.
And I'll go back to our discussion. Tulane might be as good or better right now than Boise State, but I think Boise State gets the nod because of Jeanty.
So he'll actually get 14 games. And I don't have I can give you, because they're going to play in the conference championship game, and then they should play in the playoffs. So he should have at least 14 games. It's bullcrap that they don't go back and add in the bowl games now. I mean, we know what those guys rush for. Why would you not just go back and add it in? Because Ron Dane gets the same thing. I think Ron Dane would be the all-time leading rusher.
Yeah, it doesn't,
but they don't count his bowl games.
Doesn't seem fair.
No, I would agree completely with you. All right, so Ashton Jeanty is leading the nation in rushing with 196 a game, which, by the way, is leading in the nation in rushing by 53 yards per game. That's insane.
That's crazy, yeah.
Caleb Johnson at Iowa is second.
Well, and we forget, and this is why I went back to Spencer Danielson and what he's going to do as far as carries moving forward, and especially if they start believing, hey, we're going to get into the college football playoff, we need to save some tread on the tire. We need to make sure that he's fresh, he doesn't get hurt, where we can play meaningful football into maybe January. So he's already missed 2 halves of football earlier this year. If he played those halves, he's probably got another 200 yards.
I don't think they'll rest him much anymore, though, do you? I think they rested him early in the season, and now I think they want to try to win in the Heisman.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to get him hurt because this is a potential playoff
That's what I'm
team.
saying.
Yeah.
So, what's more important?
27-44 is his pace right now for 14 games.
Almost 2,800 yards.
Almost 2,800 yards. That's his current pace.
I guess that's a record at any level. I mean, we talked about Eric Dickerson yesterday, which is over, it's like 2,100 yards. I forgot what the number is. But even in a 17-game season with the NFL,
that's insanity, man. Yeah. 2,800 yards is his path. And if they happen to spring an upset in the college football playoff and he gets 15 games, he'd go over 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
Could.
Yeah, and that could be one of those unbreakable records.
Yeah, I mean, if he hits 3,000 yards, I mean, people just don't run it. They spread rushes out and don't run it as much anymore to hit 3,000 yards. All right, as we go to break, we'll do our headlines next, Friday headline. We will tell you what is going to be the story before the game is even played, but the Pants Store takes us to break. As you head to the games, you're headed down to Auburn Saturday to watch the Tigers take on Vanderbilt. You might be headed to Baton Rouge next Saturday to watch Alabama take on LSU. You're heading over to the Grove next time Ole Miss is in town. You go over to State. Wherever you're going, make sure you dress in gear from the Pants Store. They got all that great team gear there at Pants Store. You can start at pantstore.com. All the great brands as well. You don't have to skimp on the brands just to get team gear. You get it all at the Pants Store. Pantstore.com to find any of their great locations in the central Alabama area. Pantstore.com. Dress the way you should going to games. Dress at the Pants Store.
Take the next round anywhere you go with official Next Round gear. Buy yours today at nextround.store.
Your new Academy Sports and Outdoors is now open in Birmingham with the best in sports equipment, outdoor gear, apparel, and footwear from the brands you love, and all at low prices every day. Academy Sports and Outdoors carries a wide selection of trusted brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, Shimano, and more. Plus, you can shop online or on the app with free in-store pickup or enjoy free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoors is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
Just because you've quit going to the gym, it doesn't mean that you have to quit gym altogether. Dunaway, that is. With our Next Round podcasts open 24/7, 365, you can access gym anytime you'd like. While you may have done away with your treadmill routine, our version of Dunaway is standing by ready to get you back to your absolute best. Find all that lovely Jimmy D-led content on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and in the podcast section of nextroundlive.com. This message is sponsored by Jimmy Crypto Inc. and Jimmy Crypto for President.
Are you tired of buying your CPAP mask and supplies online only to be disappointed? It's time to visit CPAP Plus, your locally owned and operated CPAP shop that prides itself on personal service. Come see what you're buying at CPAP Plus with 3 convenient locations in Pelham, Highway 280, and now open in Trustful. Drop by for a free CPAP checkup and free filters, no appointment needed. Plus, sign up for their giveaway for a chance to win a free travel CPAP machine. Just Google CPAP Plus or visit any of those 3 locations.
Let's face it, a home is one of the most powerful assets you can have, and our friends at Mortgage Right want to help you build wealth through home ownership. Mortgage Right is all about providing competitive rates, a variety of loan products, and a multitude of resources for a seamless home buying experience. They treat their borrowers like family and are always looking to bring more happy homeowners under their roof. See more by visiting mortgageright.com/TNR today and start living. That's mortgageright.com/TNR. NMLS 2239, equal housing lender.
Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone. The New York Butcher Shop. Rare quality, well-done service. Hey, there's nothing worse than waking up to a plumbing problem. Don't get caught in a flooded house. Call the guys at Hemp Hill Services. Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemp Hill are the only ones I trust to fix it and fix it right the first time. Hemp Hill Services does it right and always at a fair price. For all of your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name that Birmingham has trusted since 1954. That is Hemp Hill Services. Call now, 205-229-2090. That's 205-229-2090.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
In some places, football is a sport. In Alabama, it's a fine art. New Life Art is proud to announce Daniel A. Moore's upcoming painting, Deuces Wild. This season, Bama is blessed with a pair of very talented deuces. The pair played a huge role on both sides of the ball in the Tide's amazing 41-34 victory over number 2 Georgia. Deuces Wild will portray the unbelievable game-winning 75-yard touchdown catch by deuce number 1, Ryan Williams, late in the fourth quarter. The Dogs' last chance drive was stopped by deuce number 2, Xavier Brown, as he made the game-saving interception in the end zone, which will be celebrated by a small artist's remark in the bottom margin of each print. Go to danielmooreart.com to see the artist's preliminary sketch and take advantage of special pre-publication pricing for Deuces Wild. Also available, The Legend, Daniel Moore's final tribute to Coach Nick Saban. Order now at danielmooreart.com.
From the creators of The Next Round comes 2 new sites, covercrimson.com and thebarnauburn.com. 2 team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. Covercrimson.com or thebarnauburn.com. Sign up today.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, you're in the red zone for every college rivalry and divisional matchup all season long. I mean, where else are the scenic views as good as your view of the game? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Start your day online with our website, nextroundlive.com, for the latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. It's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com.
We're about to give you the headlines that will be coming up on Sunday or Monday, whenever you look at your newspaper next. Or I guess your website. I hadn't seen a newspaper. I was talking to somebody about, somebody asked me about like our model that we're currently on, right? And said that, I can't remember if it was Joe Rogan or somebody like that, one of these famous podcasters. Now, obviously, they were in the podcast business, right? So just like us, we hope the digital business explodes. It's the business we're in. We want it to be as healthy as possible. I want as many people in the digital space as can be there because it just drives people to the digital space and they'll hopefully find us. Right?
Automatic subscribers, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you want to help us, I'll tell you, there are a lot of ways you can help us, and we appreciate the fact that you would even want to help us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Oh, I'm going to get a single shot for this. Look at this. Look at Tyler. He's like,
very important.
Brown's getting serious. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us thumbs up. Share us on social media. When you see something we do, share it on social media. We appreciate that. Go to your podcast provider and automatically download our podcast. Just download it every single day, okay? We ask you to download it. If you would rate it highly and comment on it, that helps too. Rate, comment, download daily. Subscribe and download daily on podcasts. We ask you to do those things. They're simple things to do. If you really want to help us, that helps us. But somebody was talking about the fact, and I appreciate you doing that.
Well, by the way,
being sincere, we appreciate you doing that.
If we have, and how do you do the automatic subscriber?
All you got to do is go and you got to subscribe. Now, I know how to do it on Apple.
Yeah.
Apple Podcast. You go and you go to our podcast and subscribe. It's going to download every single day.
I think there were internal talks. If we get to 1 million of those,
right,
then we're going back to 4 hours.
Okay.
So if you guys want to spread the word and you want us to go back to 4 hours,
That's
we
it.
get to 1 million automatic downloads, then we're there.
But no, I was talking to somebody about that. I was like, they were talking about the digital space, and they heard one of them say that by the next presidential election, the biggest news will come from social media and digital media. And I'm like, well, I think that's probably the case right now. And I said, like, if I've got a 20-year-old daughter in college, and if I told her, go watch NBC Nightly News tonight and tell me what they talk about, She wouldn't have the first clue how to do that. When you grew up, I mean, we weren't avid news watchers, but you knew who Tom Brokaw was, right?
I think people watching like the shows outside of like some of the Outer Banks and Stranger Things are our demographic and older.
Yeah.
And like an example, I was in the line the other night at Odie's during trivia, and I had a next round I had on. There was a kid in there, he's probably 23, 24, and he said, "Are you involved with that next round thing?"
That next round thing. Yes. As it turns out, I am.
I said, "I am." I said, "Do you listen?" He said, "Well, I've never listened to the show, but I follow you guys on social media, and I see a lot of clips on social media." I think the majority of...
So he's watching a little T show, not ours.
I think the 18 to 24s are probably... They're not watching the show. They're probably just watching the clips.
That's okay, though, and we appreciate that. That's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a different world. And going back to another point you had, one of my biggest clients back at Jocks in the early 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s was the Birmingham News. And they built this beautiful building downtown. And I remember them bringing me down to tour it. And
it is a gorgeous building.
You know, the newspaper is going nowhere. And like within 2 or 3 years, they were out of business.
Yeah. And that was my point. The way I stumbled into this was saying if you read your newspaper Monday, that's what I was talking about there. And I don't think anybody reads a newspaper. All right, before we do the headlines, Milo's.
I do like the newspaper.
When's the last time you've touched one? Could you find
when
one?
When we were in Dallas, our hotel.
You got the Dallas Morning News?
No, had the USA Today.
Was it?
Yep, and I would wrap it up and bring it to media days and never look at it.
You see, you like the newspaper. That was your one chance.
I do. It's so thin now, though.
Yeah, USA Today probably has nothing in it.
Hey, can you name something better than a Milo's burger? How about 24 free Milo's burgers? Milo's giving away catered meal for up to 24 guests. That's right, 24 of your closest friends, coworkers, or family can be chowing down on Milo's favorites. And the best part, it is absolutely free. For your chance to win, head to miloshamburgers.com/catering-contest. Enter today. That is miloshamburgers.com/catering-contest. So whether you're feeding a whole crew or just a few, Milo's has got you covered. Don't wait. Enter now. Maybe they'll be serving you and 23 of your lucky friends soon. Stay saucy.
So the person that told me this, Milton, and I bet you know the answer to this, he was having this conversation with me on the phone, and he was like, he goes, when you were growing up, did you know the anchors of the 3 major nightly newses? And I could tell him then. I was like, it's Peter Jennings, ABC, Dan Rather, CBS, and Tom Brokaw, NBC. And he said, name them now.
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't have the first clue.
And when I'll see something on social media with an anchor, I've never seen them before.
Yeah, I don't have the first clue, Milton, who they are.
David Muir
is ABC. I think I remember him from the debate.
Lester Holt of NBC.
He's got the glasses, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And then CBS, it was Nora O'Donnell, but it is now changed to someone else.
This is pretty amazing.
Wow.
I thought you and Tyler
fired?
Just watch movies.
Yeah.
And you guys
I've worked in the news business.
Yeah, he came over from a news station.
Yeah,
Keep that in mind. Did she get fired or did she just move on? Or?
She got reassigned / promoted, but it was a mix-up to change it up. And then Katie Couric got all frustrated and upset that they made the change.
I know it used to be a joke.
Katie Couric's still around?
Yeah, well, she used to be the person that was the...
Well, I know Dunaway reads her newsletter, but I didn't know she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, he reads her newsletter. I know he brings it up occasionally. That's more in the summer.
Hey, so I know it used to be a running thing on the Today Show. Where in the world is Matt Lauer? Does anybody really know where he is?
Matt
He's
Lauer?
enjoying his millions somewhere off remotely.
I mean, if he was a saver, he ain't working. And I mean, he made a lot of money. I don't know what you get paid to host today.
I think he was making $30 million at his top, maybe a little bit more.
Charlie Rose got caught up in all of that too, and he's now started a podcast, I believe. And if Charlie Rose is starting a podcast,
God, how old is he, Milton?
Gosh, he's got to be 85 probably.
Yeah,
if I had to guess.
That's probably one of his grandson that didn't want to work.
Yeah, look,
hey, Pops,
Pops, look in the camera right there. Okay,
yeah, I got an idea for you, and I'm going to pay you $100,000 a month if you do this.
And Pops probably said, okay, I could use $100,000. All right, let's do the headlines. If you do not mind there, Tim Melton, please hit the button so we can see the old spotlight.
The College Football Spotlight.
Like the game's already been played. Monday's headlines today.
Hey, and the headlines and all the spotlights presented by McCurry Van and Car Rental. You need a car, van, or truck, rent from McCurry. McCurry Van and Car Rental, the local rental company you can depend on. All kinds of passenger vans, SUVs to choose from. Easy to rent. They get you in and out fast with locations in Athens, Muscle Shoals, Huntsville, and Coleman on 2nd Avenue Northwest. Skyland Boulevard in Tuscaloosa. Reserve your rental today, 256-559-1003 or McCurryrentals.com. All right, the headline today is going to go to.
All I know
state.
is the side headlines are incredible.
The state newspaper. You don't like the main headline?
I mean, it's not as good as the side headlines.
Okay, thank you. The state newspaper in Columbia, South Carolina is where we're going to go today. Big game, Texas A&M, South Carolina.
I give Elko a lot of credit, too, that he hasn't gone on maternity leave yet.
Elko can't see cock. A&M coach claims South Carolina hit a player on the game-deciding score. I mean, that's a great play by Shane Beamer, right?
And it hit him right there in the stomach of Elko.
He's a big guy.
He's a big guy.
And he wears that way, way, way oversized hoodie, thinking it's covering up the gut, and it's really only accentuating it because it comes down to his knees.
Can you imagine if Elko would have taken the Bama job and lost a game?
You think he'd get destroyed for that hoodie?
People would be throwing candy bars at him.
So Elko can't see cock. A&M coach claims South Carolina hit a player on a game-deciding score. That's going to be a smart move by Shane Beamer to hide a player. You got to win.
Where did you get the dusky,
it's the
fog
state
background?
That's the state, man. That's the picture they took after the game. Elko looking right
go
now.
see
He's looking down trying to see it.
Side stories.
Side stories on page 2. Las Vegas casinos report record earnings since Wednesday. Execs puzzled as to why.
I can help them figure that out.
I mean, the casinos are red hot right now in Vegas, and they don't know why. What is going on?
Have you ever seen the movie The Cooler with William H. Macy? Alec Baldwin.
I guarantee you Melton
Say what
has.
you want about Alec Baldwin is incredible in the movie.
Yeah.
Have you never seen it?
I've never seen this movie.
Yeah, so basically it's one of the smaller casinos. They're still mob-owned, and they pay William H. Macy. He is the cooler. Like if somebody gets on a heater, they bring him to the table, and it completely shuts it down. Dunaway, he might never come back.
Well, I mean, that'd be a good living to make.
I could see them be like, dude, you are incredible in this role. We'll pay you what you want. You just hang out at the casino.
I got hit with a cooler at a casino. I was on a hot run on roulette.
Did they bring somebody over, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And Brown, like, I think people laugh about this. Legitimately, there are so many superstitious people in that business. This is a real thing.
I was watching, I can't remember which game. Let me do the other headline. I'll come back to this. The other headline on page 3, Eric Dickerson gifts excited Birmingham sportscaster a classic gold Trans Am.
That would make my 2024.
You would love it? You'd drive that to work every day?
I would drive it to work every day.
You know, a friend of ours owns one that is like the it was like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah. Saw him last week.
Yeah, he'd probably sell it to you.
I think I would rather have the classic gold.
Would you? You'd go the classic gold?
Yeah.
Would
I
you want
don't
the
know.
T-tops?
Classic gold might be a little too loud.
Yeah. Would you want the T-tops?
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so fun game there, apparently in College Station is what in Columbia, South Carolina. I was watching one of the games. I cannot remember if it was Tom Hart doing the Vanderbilt, Texas game Saturday, or if it was the Alabama game. I assume you didn't have a headline. I just skipped right over
I
it.
do have a headline.
Oh, do you? I'm sorry. I'll come to it.
Why
in a
did you
moment.
assume
I don't
didn't
know.
have one?
Because mine was the only one that popped up, and then I see yours pop up now. That was my fault. I didn't see two of them pop up, but I'll come back to yours. One of them was either Tom Hart or it was Joe Test doing the Bama game, talking about something was as annoying as somebody that doesn't know how to play third base in blackjack at the blackjack table. Did you hear them say that?
No, I did not. But that is very annoying.
I just thought it was a weird line. It's like a guy that doesn't know how to play third base at a blackjack table.
Yeah, that quickly becomes awkward. You'll get a drunk that will say something to him and gets cleaned up pretty quickly.
Lance, your headlines.
The Cock Courier.
Oh, wow, we're back
This
at this
thing
game?
I threw this on Tyler late, so this thing's a mess. It was supposed to say, tackle please Elko.
Tackle. Oh, instead of tackle and tickle me Elko, tackle please Elko.
Yeah,
gotcha.
it was tackle please
Elko,
Elko.
Gotcha, yes.
And then Cox pound Aggies in Columbia.
Yeah. Wow, we really like that. We're all on South Carolina in this one. I wonder why. that made our headlines.
We are. Yeah. And it's almost
Always
like I want to
easy.
stay. I'm going to end up playing South Carolina. I want to stay away from this game because I want to pull for A&M. Maybe A&M wins it by a point.
Mike Elko, I mean, I look back when I was looking for these photos.
Got a little Tom Arnold in him.
I could see some Tom Arnold in that. But he also, he wasn't this big at Duke. It's overnight. No. I found some old Duke photos, and, I mean, he's not skinny there, but it's not what it has become.
Yeah, I'll say this, though. So Elko's 47, I think.
Okay.
I have in the last year and a half, and I think some of it's the diverticulitis. But there's some weight that I just can't shake right now.
Right? Is it in the?
Yeah, it's in the core.
In the old core there.
And I'm not going to say this is Elko's problem. He doesn't look like a very active guy, but there could be something about him. What do they call it? Menopause.
Yeah, it's just finally hit where the Where the metabolism has completely stopped?
Yeah, it's a real deal. Mid-20s, it slows down to the 30s, the 40s, into the 50s, but it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro and Cape Fear said the average man gains 5 pounds a year.
Right.
Until they're 60, I think, and then you kind of taper out.
Yeah. Charles likes the Cock Courier being your newspaper there.
Well, that's all Tyler.
Is that all Tyler?
Yeah, that's one of his deep reads.
Yep, Tyler reads the Cock Courier. And also, I like that Tyler went very British, 4th November, rather than the way we do it here in the United States, November 4th. He went very 4th November. Very British of Tyler there. I don't know why. Why so European today, Tyler?
That was just the template that I used. I've been using it for Lance's headlines for the past month.
But it's always breaking news, right?
It really is. I mean, these games, Lance, is breaking news when you know how the game's going to be played.
I thought we were really on a roll with our headlines until last week. We go on the road.
Well, you and I just forgot to do it.
Yeah, and it kind of threw us off.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. That is McCurry Van and Car Rental, McCurryRentals.com. Michelson Laser Vision bringing you part of the show, and then I want to ask a question about Ohio State and Penn State. Actually, I want to talk about what Heather Dinich said about them. She covers the college football playoff. Michelson Laser Vision.
Yeah, 205-969-8100. Ask for Amy. Do you or a family member need to make your benefit selection at work now? Did you know your FSA or flex spending can be used to help you see clearly without the hassle of glasses or contacts? Yes, LASIK and Michelson Laser Vision might be a good choice for you. Book your free LASIK consultation today with Dr. Mark Michelson, Dr. Jen Michelson. Find out if you can use your FSA or flex plan funds to get freedom for the hassle of glasses or contact lenses. Our friend Alex from Odie's came up to me the other night. He said, I scheduled the consultation, went in and saw Dr. Jen Michelson last week. They were absolutely fantastic. So they're working on getting him in and getting the LASIK procedure done. These guys are absolutely great. Best in the business, in my opinion. I went in to see them more than 20 years ago. I've still got the 2015 vision. Better than 2020. 205-969-8100 or michelsonlaservision.com.
So Heather Dinich, who covers the college football playoff for ESPN, says that this Ohio State-Penn State game has reach in the college football playoff far beyond what you might even discuss. And here is her point on this. If Ohio State loses this game, that's going to give them 2 losses. They're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. But she says hosting a game in the Horseshoe becomes very, very difficult for them with these 2 losses. And then she goes on to say, as we talked about yesterday, the Indiana game becomes an absolute must-win for Ohio State. Odd that you would have Ohio State, Indiana, assuming Indiana beats Michigan State Saturday. If Indiana beats Michigan State and Ohio State loses to Penn State, you're going to have Ohio State, Indiana be a must-win for Ohio State, not Indiana, which is crazy to think about.
Well,
but that's
Indiana
your scenario.
can still lose that game.
That's right.
And play in the Big Ten Championship.
Absolutely. So it is not a must-win for them.
And I think Oregon would rather see Indiana. I don't think they want to see Ohio State again.
I don't think there's any doubt.
You know, the problem with Ohio State not hosting one of these games, and maybe Penn State does, I want to see a weather game. I think that's one of the things that we're excited. Not only the pageantry of what you get on campus with home crowd and stadiums and different tailgates and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But when we get into December and January, the weather. And that was one of the interesting things. We've always got, the climate-controlled domes that we've played these championship games in the past, and you understand that. I think the worst conditions we ever had were in Los Angeles a couple of years ago for TCU and Georgia.
Rain blowing inside a dome stadium?
Yeah, I think that because you just don't get conditions having, they're never in play when it comes to deciding a championship in college football. We've had it in the NFL with Super Bowls before and AFC and NFC championship games. But that's one of the things that I wanted to see. I want the elements to play a factor in some of these games.
Her point on Penn State is that with a loss to Ohio State, they're in the playoffs. That's no problem. In fact, they probably don't go to the Big Ten championship game, which only helps them stay in the playoffs because they're probably going to finish with 1 loss. But she maintains that it becomes difficult potentially for them to host a playoff game, even with 1 loss, and here's why. If Ohio State beats them, their only ranked win right now is Illinois. That's it. I mean, their wins are West Virginia, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin. They would have wins over Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland. I mean, that is not a good schedule.
No, and I do want to point out that Illinois, I think they lose tomorrow at home against Minnesota.
Right.
And they might have another loss. That's going to drop them out of the 25. And I don't know if they can get back in the top 25 with Michigan State, Rutgers, and Northwestern on the schedule.
They're 24th right now, so they're barely hanging on. So, and again, that's in our current rankings. You would have to see what the college football playoff rankings look like starting Tuesday. But I'd not really thought of this, but I think she's probably right, Lance. Now, a lot of this depends on what happens elsewhere, but that is not a strong Penn State schedule.
Well, here's what I expect to happen tomorrow. I expect Ohio State to win this game.
Okay.
And I expect Ohio State to win out.
And beat Indiana and then play Oregon.
Yeah, and you're going to look back and you're going to be like, okay, they had a 1-point loss on the road to the number 1 team in the nation right now.
Right.
So it's not like they've had a bad loss. I think if they would have run Nebraska off the field, nobody would have any concerns with Ohio State. I think that's been the concerning point because you look at all the other games, whether it was Michigan State, Iowa, a pretty good MAC team in Western Michigan, Marshall, who is a solid team, going to be a bowl team. Those were complete blowouts. And you lose the 1-point game where I felt watching the game that Ohio State was better than Oregon. It's one of the toughest environments to play in college football. But then because Nebraska was coming off a 49-point loss in Bloomington, for Nebraska to hang around, that is why people are concerned with Ohio State.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State was coming off the emotional loss, and I think they were getting ready for this big emotional game against Penn State. Now, Ryan Day is a better coach than James Franklin. They've got a better roster. They have owned this rivalry, and I fully expect you're getting a really fair price. It's an early game. Good chance I stay away from it, but you're getting a really fair price with Ohio State only -3.
Now, on the other side, I'm trying to dig back through the it's Nicholas in the mybookie.ag chat room. He goes, let's assume Penn State or Ohio State is 10-2. So let's let them lose this game. Who are their good wins? That is going to be Indiana. That's going to be your answer to that question. Indiana will be their good win.
Well, if they lose this game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He said 10-2, so then they will have beaten Indiana.
Yeah. And again,
that's going to be it, though.
Once you lined up this schedule in the Big Ten for Ohio State, before the season started, you were like, okay, Iowa's going to be pretty good. Oregon's obviously going to be good. Penn State's going to be good. And you thought Michigan would be really good.
Yep. And Iowa has been disappointing. I mean, they're still 5-3, but we talked about Iowa and Kansas, 2 teams we talked about with an opportunity to be a surprise 10-2 type team. Never made it.
And Iowa's had such I've got to back this up a little bit because you have changed a offensive coordinator and things have been better, although the record hasn't been. But I thought with Iowa's schedule, Iowa was going to be able to cruise to 10 wins.
Yep.
And, again, Indiana's been the surprise and maybe all of college football, but especially the Big Ten. Still think Ohio State wins tomorrow, then they're right back to the exact team we thought they would be. They've got every opportunity to get a rematch with Oregon. I think if they play Oregon again, neutral site, I think Ohio State wins that. I think Ohio State at the end of the year is going to be 11-1. I think they'll go to the Big Ten championship. I think they'll beat Oregon. And I think they're going to have a bye.
So I do think it will be interesting to see if Penn State loses this game, where are they in this first ranking? Because it is a favorable schedule for them moving on. But keep in mind, if they're like, I don't know, Lance, 7th in this first ranking, which wouldn't be crazy. You lose to Ohio State, you're 7th as a 1-loss team in this first ranking. That's probably going to be enough to push you out of hosting a playoff game because keep in mind, 2 conference champions are going to get slotted in front of you up there at 3 and 4. And, I mean, depending on where they have BYU in relation to Penn State, may not cost them a spot there. Notre Dame, depending on where they are in relation as a 1-loss team, they could be in front of you. So, I don't know. I'd not thought of that in terms of a 1-loss Penn State not hosting a playoff game, but it is not a great schedule for them.
And look, in Penn State, much in the same boat as Ole Miss. Coming into the season, we've been close. We haven't been able to get there. Now that we're going to 12 teams, we should be there almost every year under James Franklin based on where we've been in the past. Much like Ole Miss, though, James Franklin finds ways to lose games. I think he loses tomorrow. And let me give you this scenario. I did a drive-by on Max Brosmer earlier this year. You heard Fuhrman talk about the Minnesota quarterback.
That's right.
Darius Taylor is one of the best running backs in all of football. This Minnesota team, I know people hate P.J. Fleck. They are playing really good football right now. I think they win tomorrow, and they host Penn State coming up in the end of November. So my question to you would be, if Penn State loses to Ohio State and then they lose to Minnesota and they've got 2 losses, And at the end of the year, they don't have a win over a top 25. I don't think they get in.
I would agree with you. That loss to Minnesota would be a killer.
And I'm starting to think this is the way it plays out for Penn State.
Oh, no.
Because Penn State fans are like, we are in this college football playoff. And then if they lose tomorrow, then they're going to be like, oh, damn, we've still got to go to Minnesota to play the Golden Gophers.
Well, that's if Minnesota looks really good against Illinois, as you think they will.
Yeah, even if they don't, I still think it's a dangerous game because Penn State seems to find one of these losses.
Yeah. Boy, that'd be brutal. To loss to Minnesota knocking you out of the playoffs. But I can see it. I mean, again, if you don't have any ranked wins and you've lost to Minnesota, it is a tough argument.
Yeah, and just to remind people where Minnesota is, and hey, look, they're not a great team by any means, but they're a frustrating team to play because they play a physical brand of football. They run the football so effectively. So they've won 3 straight after losing at Michigan by 3. They got blown out against Iowa. They led that game at halftime. The second half got away from them. But they dusted Maryland. They beat UCLA on the road, and they've beaten USC. So it's a decent 3-game streak going right now for Minnesota.
Yeah, I would just say if you are one of these teams that is on the bubble, one of these 10-2 teams on the bubble, you become massive USC fans at the end of the year against Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
You want Notre Dame with 2 losses because that Northern Illinois loss is going to be hard to overlook.
Yeah, and I think a Notre Dame second loss, I think a Penn State second loss, that really opens things up for that second team in the Big 12, that second team in the ACC, because the committee is going to have their hands full with trying to make these decisions. And I was talking to Chip and Zay in Austin yesterday, and they kind of agree with you and Dunaway that the committee is going to start thinking about eyeballs and ratings, and they're not going to worry about 1 loss to 2 or 3 loss. I kind of think the benefit of the doubt will be given to the ACC and the Big 12 in year 1, and they'll see what the ratings look like. And if the ratings aren't great, then maybe they go to the traditionals next year. I could be completely wrong here, but I do think losses to Penn State and Notre Dame open up for teams like SMU possibly, for a 1-loss Iowa State, BYU, teams like that.
All right, as we go to the final hour of the week, remind everyone about Hemp Hill Services.
205-229-2090 if you've got any heating, cooling, or plumbing issues at all, home or business. These guys are ready to serve you. Hard to stop a train. Adam, Chad, Andrew, the guys there. Tell them the next round sent you. For more information, hemphillservices.com.
We got 4 downs. We got more of the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3. We got trash. We got a lot to get to, and we'll make our picks in the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3. That is in the next hour on The Next Round.
Follow The Next Round on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Next Round Live.
Are you tired of buying your CPAP mask and supplies online only to be disappointed? It's time to visit CPAP Plus, your locally owned and operated CPAP shop that prides itself on personal service. Come see what you're buying at CPAP Plus with 3 convenient locations in Pelham, Highway 280, and now open in Trustful. Drop by for a free CPAP checkup and free filters, no appointment needed. Plus, sign up for their giveaway for a chance to win a free travel CPAP machine. Just Google CPAP Plus or visit any of those 3 locations.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
Hey, you. It's the holidays. Give cheer a lift. And at New Balance Birmingham, we got the gift. That holiday vibe? Find it inside. Come together at New Balance Birmingham on Highway 280, right next to Chick-fil-A. New Balance Birmingham. We got now.
Hey, this is Matt Roth, the franchisee of Walk On Sports Bistro in Birmingham. With the kickoff of football season, come visit us at one of our 3 locations, Stadium Trace, Greystone, or Trustville. Come enjoy our scratch kitchen menu while watching one of our 80 TVs. Whether you're looking for a pre- or post-game celebration, game day, or date night, we've got you covered. It's all about the win at Walk On Sports Bistro. Walk On, where everybody needs a little playing time.
This hour of The Next Round is presented by the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, now featuring 7 days of giveaways with your chance to win a share of up to $125,000. The more you visit the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, the more chances you have to win.
Remember the name Way to Wellness if you're battling weight loss in your life. I'm Jim Dunaway from The Next Round. There was a time I was over 216 pounds until Way to Wellness helped me lose 45 pounds, and now for over 2 years, they've helped me keep that weight off. Here's their website, aplanforme.com, aplanforme.com. That's a great name for a website because there's no cookie-cutter plan. Everything is designed specifically for you. No contract, no sign-up fees, and your first consultation is free at Way to Wellness.
Hey, let me tell you about our friends at Urology Centers of Alabama. Compassionate and comprehensive urological care with 35 physicians, 17 locations across Alabama. Their patient-centered approach to all of your urological needs. Remember, they've got that new men's health center. It is beautiful, helping men with a wide range of sensitive male issues in a comfortable environment. You can always go online, visit urologycentersalabama.com, schedule an appointment with one of their many urologists today.
Happy football season. At The Next Round, we strive to make our loyal listeners feel like they're a part of the action all season long. My name is Emily Grace McWhorter, and I do that by bringing you along for any given Saturday in Auburn or Tuscaloosa. From pregame warm-ups, touchdowns that make you feel a part of the play, and everything in between, our goal is to make you feel like you're inside Bryant Denny or Jordan Hare. Follow along on our social media at Next Round Live on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Also, check out thebarnauburn.com and covercrimson.com while you're at it. Here's to fall Saturdays.
Take TNR on the go with a podcast built for your satisfaction. Miss Hour 1, find it in podcast form. Miss Hour 2, stream it now. Miss Hour 3, download it for later. Miss Hour 4, well, just know it's never coming back. Listen to TNR wherever you find podcasts.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, The Next Round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
We're about to do 4 downs here on a Friday. We still got the Buffalo Wild Wings pick 3. Second part of that coming up in this segment. Trash. We'll make our pick 3 plays. A lot to get to. Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken brings you this show, or this hour of the show. Champy'sChicken.com. Sterling and the crew have opened up right there. They're serving up that great lunch for you. The great chicken fingers, the Mississippi Delta recipe tamales, the po' boys, the sides, all of that. Champy's Chicken, Champy'sChicken.com. Go see Sterling, Megan, and the entire gang there at Champy's today and enjoy a great lunch, or get some of that tailgate food for this weekend, Champy'sChicken.com. It's one of those days where it looks like it's that cool fall day, and then you walk outside and it's not terrible, but it doesn't match what it looks like. We are in November and we're still not getting cool weather.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, have you looked at like a 10-day?
I can right now. I think it's going to be in the.
I mean, I've got wood. I'm ready to.
Oh, you bought some. You got wood.
Let's not take this out of context.
You're excited for the.
I have got wood for the fire pit, and I am ready to roll on that. I like when we have the isolated one, just really good late college football Saturday game. Pour a good bourbon, hang out by the fire pit, and watch the game outside.
In Central Alabama right now, according to ABC 3340, that's the app I pulled up, you've got to go all the way to Sunday, November 10th to get into the 60s as a high. Now, it's going to be in the 70s. That's not terrible weather, but, I mean, if you want it really cool.
I just, again, if you can't swim, if you got the leaves falling, it just makes sense. There's really nothing worse than kind of a hot Thanksgiving. Like, we've had a Thanksgiving in the high 70s before.
Yeah, I know. So wear shorts.
I froze at the Post Malone concert a couple of weeks ago and then burned up on Halloween, so it makes no sense.
You seem like one of those guys that would never be cold. Brown's never cold.
Never cold.
I'm very rarely cold.
You've got the Grizzly Adams look, old reference there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember Grizzly Adams?
I do remember Grizzly Adams.
It's called Apathy.
Never watched the show Apathy.
Yeah, I think Grizzly Adams got in a little trouble for the cocaine.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I don't catch up with you. How was the Post Malone concert?
It was good.
Right after that, he did a surprise show at Floribama. Did you know that?
I heard about that, yes.
Yeah.
See, I'm just not interested in his country stuff. I like, everything he touched early in his career, and I say early in his career, in the last 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, those were all top 10 hits. I mean, I like Post Malone. I think he's pretty entertaining, but I don't really care for the country.
So if he can tell it, when we go back down to the Floribama, which should be Army-Navy weekend if everything works out, we'll get our guy Steve Powers to tell the backstory on Post Malone for a Mystery Fifth Hour. We'll revive the Mystery Fifth Hour after football season.
I think that would be great.
And Steve can tell that story because I'm told there is a story behind it. Not a salacious, but just like you've got a...
Yeah, how does that work?
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
If you're a musician, like you feel like you want to invite them on stage and they can just take it over, but then at the same time, you don't want to make them look like a dick if they don't want to get up there. So, I mean, I don't even know how that works.
Yeah, so I would like to know the backstory. I mean, Post Malone is if you rate worldwide entertainers, he's top.
I mean, as far as records sold, he's got to be top 10 in the last 5 years.
I put him in that category, and his versatility keeps him on many different types of charts.
And you've got a place like the Floribama, and somebody's like, hey, Post Malone would like to get up on your stage. You're going to say, we're in, right? But
that is correct.
But it's probably a little more complicated than just we're in. Tell him to show up at 7 and walk up there, and Big Earl will move over. You know, it's more complicated than that.
If Dave Chappelle shows up to do a set at your comedy club,
you're going to do it.
You're going to let him get up there.
That's right.
Then you're going to bump whoever else.
Yeah. So I'd like to know the backstory, and I'm told there's a good backstory. I haven't gotten it yet. We'll do it for a mystery.
Yeah, like if I don't know, who would we say? I was going to say if Dan Patrick walked in, we'd let him do the show, but I'd say no on that.
I don't think so. I mean, I really don't know who I would say. If
our man Herb Winches walked in.
H. Dubs?
Yeah.
Yes, Herb gets a seat at the table anytime. Before we do 4 downs, tell us about Inverness Country Club, Lance. Great place to join.
Oh, it really is. They've got memberships that fit everyone. Find your sense of community at Inverness Country Club. We were out there a few weeks ago. Beautiful club. They've got that social membership, the golf membership. Maybe you travel for work or pleasure. Ask about the Heritage Plus option where you have access to courses at 37 other clubs around the country. Inverness Country Club, great place to meet others in the community. Maybe you've relocated to retired Inverness, great place to network, childcare, also a massive plus here. Maybe you work from home. What about working from the club while they watch your kid? Whatever your interests are, you can find it. Inverness. Best days happen there. To take a tour of the unbelievable club, call Erin today. Tell her the next round sent you. 205-991-8608. That's 205-991-8608 or online, iccalabama.com.
Matt says, you ever notice when a pop artist flips to country, they do a bunch of collabs on their first album? He says Beyonce didn't do it, but every Post Malone's a collab.
Beyonce did it.
Who did she collab with?
Everybody.
No, I don't know. I've only heard 2 songs from that album.
The Post Malone collab with Morgan Wallen. I can't tell who's who.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually smart to do that because it lends you credence as a country artist if you're doing a collab with Morgan Wallen or...
Well, and I think it helps them too because you get a little crossover. Because Morgan Wallen, I mean, you'll hear him on a top 40 station.
Yeah.
Beyonce collaborated with Dolly Parton and Miley Cyrus and Willie Nelson. And, she went a little bit older country there.
Yeah, well... you do a collab with Dolly, it's going to get some attention. All right, let's do 4 downs. It is brought to you every single day by Slice.
Hey, great place to go this weekend. Maybe you've got family, friends in town getting ready for some football. Stop into one of those great locations, 5 of them. At Slice, the original Lakeview, Vestavia, Montevallo, Crestline Park, newest location in Edgewood. Get and see the Bajaya Brothers from the Soul Pie, the Hot Mama, the Spicy Hawaiian. You're going to absolutely love it. 5 locations, local pizza, local ingredients. For more information, slicebirmingham.com.
First down.
More realistic double-digit upset tomorrow. Michigan at home over Oregon or Florida over Georgia in the cocktail party?
You haven't said it as much the last couple days, but early in the week, it was your upset alert. I felt like you were on Michigan. Did that line just move to the point you don't like it anymore?
No, I'm still playing Michigan.
You're still in?
Yeah.
Okay, so you still like Michigan.
I'm still in on Florida, too.
Yeah. Oh, so you like both underdogs?
Yeah, I don't think either one wins the game. Would it shock me if one of the two wins the game? It wouldn't shock me just because of the weird year we're in right now. The more shocking...
I mean, Michigan right now is a 14.5-point underdog, and Florida is a 14.5-point underdog.
I'm going to say the more shocking to me, and Florida's playing much better football, would be Florida beating Georgia just based on the fact that 9 of the last 10 cocktail parties have been double-digit wins.
I would say, and both those lines are at mybookie.ag at 14.5 right now, I would say Florida... For this reason, I think they're going to get much better quarterback play out of Lagway than anything Michigan could put out there. So that's going to give you a better shot at an upset. Now, Michigan, their upset rest on defense.
This weird thought this morning, and was getting a workout in, and I was like, Davis Warren has to have a good day of practice sometimes, right? Like the other Michigan teammates have got to look around and say, damn, man, he's throwing the ball well today. He's looked really crisp in practice. it's got to translate to one game, right?
I mean, at some point, he'll have a good game. I mean, it's just the odds.
He's a scholarship quarterback at Michigan.
Yes, I know.
You know, like it's just like I understand inconsistency.
Yeah.
And I understand that very average quarterbacks have sometimes a good game and a bad game, but they're like consistently bad. Like, let's have a little inconsistency at the quarterback position where every now and then you can have a decent game. Just have a decent game tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to go best shot at an upset Florida for two reasons. Number one, Carson Beck has shown the propensity to turn the ball over. Not that Oregon hasn't also. They've turned it over at bad times this year. But Carson Beck himself has turned it over. And all those turnovers for Oregon haven't been Dylan Gabriel. Several of them have. And Florida's got a better quarterback play. So I'm going to go better chance upset if Florida.
Well, and Florida, you know, they're 3-1 in their last 4 games. They had every opportunity to beat Tennessee in the one game they lost. They haven't lost the turnover margin in their last 4 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's key. Did you ever think we would be in a time where Florida has lost 6 straight to ranked teams?
You know, I really did not. Not with the way that program was cooking
That's
under
crazy.
Spurrier and Urban Meyer, no.
Second down.
Okay, another one for you. Better chance of happening. Which home double-digit favorite has a better chance of going down? Iowa State to Texas Tech or Clemson? I said Texas Tech.
You did.
Texas Tech or Clemson to Louisville?
This Clemson-Louisville game is fascinating to me. A lot of people have just ignored Louisville because they've lost games, but when you dig deeper in the losses, they are all tight losses. They've lost tight on the road, or no, it was at home to Notre Dame, right? That
Notre Dame, Miami, and SMU.
And Miami is the only game I point out that was probably not really a 7-point game.
That's a combined 26-2 to the 3 teams they've lost, all by a possession.
But it was a 7-point game up until the fourth quarter. Miami just had a really good fourth quarter. Louisville scored late, came down to an onside kick, and then Miami nailed it out. I'm going to say actually the better shot for the dog to win is Louisville at Clemson. I think we've been sucked into Clemson has fixed everything that was wrong early in the year. I think, truthfully, Clemson's just not played anybody.
Yeah, I think Iowa State got their scare a couple of weeks ago against Central Florida.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I think Iowa State wins the game going away, and I think Louisville has something for Clemson.
I do too. I don't think Clemson has fixed everything like we think it. I think Louisville might be a little better than the experts say, according to Lee Corso. So I'll go Louisville.
Third down.
Jenny McCarthy, 52 years old today. For you youngsters out there, Jenny McCarthy used to look really good.
She was a top 10 back in the day, wasn't she?
Better career, Jenny McCarthy or Mike McCarthy? For those wondering, he is the head coach of the Cowboys. Doesn't have a lot of say there. They're not playing well. He has won one Super Bowl.
There you go.
But it's one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
It still counts. He still gets put it on the resume.
I really outside of singled out in Times Square, and she's doing I think she's done The View, Masked Singer. I'm going to go Jenny McCarthy here.
What is her Super Bowl win?
Singled Out, maybe?
Would that be it?
I don't know.
Do you know Jenny McCarthy?
I do,
Milton?
but aren't they both sort of known more for their breakups? I mean, both of these figures.
Probably.
So I would say, considering McCarthy has the Super Bowl, Mike McCarthy, I'd go that route.
And she's married to Donnie Wahlberg. So she still gets New Kids on the Block residuals.
Which has got to be really good.
The Wahlburgers, which I've never had, but people say it's pretty good. I know they're bigger on the West Coast, that hamburger chain.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, CU in the Buff says only one would be appealing in a centerfold. I think that goes without saying. I don't think anybody needs to see Mike McCarthy in a centerfold.
Yeah, I and my buddy Banks out in Denver's right. McCarthy is about to be unemployed.
Which one, Mike or Jenny?
Well, when Jenny, I mean,
potentially both.
To be 52 and still.
Well, I mean, she could just live off Wahlberg's residuals. I mean, that's good money.
I'm going Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah. Kevin says Jim Carrey is Jenny McCarthy's Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yep. Steven says she had New Year's Rocking Eve, too. That was a big deal back in the day. I think I'll go Jenny McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy is actually, even with a Super Bowl championship, more known as an underachieving coach than anything.
Wait, my buddy Banks says cousin to Melissa.
Melissa McCarthy?
Wait, who?
No
I mean,
way.
Mike McCarthy looks much more like Melissa McCarthy than Jenny McCarthy.
Okay, Mike's a cousin to Melissa, not Jenny. I got you. All right.
I need to know what that is, though. Like who she is.
No, there's no way. What?
No, like Melissa McCarthy, who her cousin is.
She was on a show called Mike and Molly, so who knows?
No, he's saying Mike and Melissa have to be cousins. There's no way they really are.
Okay.
Fourth down.
Anthony Kiedis, 62 years old today. Anthony Kiedis, Anthony Davis.
So I am just going to have to admit I've never liked their music that much. I mean, it's a matter of taste, I get. It's just
I like their music a lot. I love their energy. The longevity's been incredible. I think I'm going to go Anthony Davis, though, just for this. Like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they've won multiple Grammys, but Anthony Davis won the Naismith, won the national championship, was the number 1 overall pick. He's won an NBA championship. He's still, when he is healthy, close to a top 10 player.
Yeah.
I would assume their net worth right around the same, probably $200 million, I'm guessing. Maybe Tyler can check that for us.
I'll go. Which?
So we're going Anthony Davis and Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah.
When healthy, a top 10 player? You really think that?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
Tim does not seem to feel
I don't
that
know.
way.
I'm not there.
Active NBA watcher Tim Melton.
I mean, he is by far their best player on that roster.
Anthony Davis, estimated net worth 160.
Okay.
What do you think Anthony Kiedis is going to be?
It's going to be 150 to 200.
Yeah.
It's going to be right around the same.
He's a good-looking guy, though. Both of them really are. Anthony Kiedis net worth 155, so it's going to be really close right there.
Yeah, I'm going. Maybe it's just because we've got more of the sports element here, but I'm going to go Anthony Davis.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers, a band right in my wheelhouse right there. My favorite genre of music is country. Beyond that, Southern rock and 90s rock are 2 and 3, and 90s rock is Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? I mean, you'd classify that as 90s rock. They're not grunge.
You definitely would, yeah.
I was going to go see them in Chicago one time, and it was just a few years ago, and flight got delayed. Hadn't gotten tickets yet. Was going to get them there, and ended up getting Chicago a little late. So I've never seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I would like to see them in concert, though.
Yeah.
As long as they don't come out with just socks around their junk.
They've done that, but you're not just making that up.
No.
It's actually happened. Yeah. Yes. That is 4 Downs presented by Slice.
Yeah, 5 locations for lunch or dinner. Just pick up some pies this weekend, having people over to watch football. You're going to love it. Local pizza, local ingredients created by the late Jeff Bajaya. His brothers, Jason and Chris, continue to celebrate his legacy. For more information, slicebirmingham.com.
Tyler from the back row with a cryptic comment in the mybookie.ag chat room. Tyler, would you like to expound upon that?
He talks a little bit about it in his autobiography.
This is Anthony Kiedis Tyler is talking about.
Yeah, Anthony Kiedis. He dated a 14-year-old while he was on tour.
Yeah.
And there are some other stories about that. So
right,
Did they have any, because I got on pretty good source that Anthony Kiedis used to have shower parties? Did that ever come
was
up?
not in the book.
Yeah.
But he included the 14-year-old for whatever reason. And I think we'd see some information if there's more that comes out of the P. Diddy situation.
Thank you, Tyler.
I don't get it.
Thank you, Tyler. So Tyler's comment initially was, when the whole story's told, Anthony Kiedis probably not going to be viewed the same way.
Anthony Kiedis could have his roadies go out and pick anybody out of the crowd.
Yeah.
And they could come backstage, and he decides to go somebody with
illegal.
With a lunch card.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going Anthony Davis now for sure, Melton.
Can we talk about unibrows? Let's talk about unibrows.
I'm going to stick with Anthony Davis here. That is 4 Downs. I want to go back to Ohio State real quick. Watching them against Nebraska, they're down a left tackle.
Yep.
And
Josh Simmons
and
goes
that
out.
showed, by the way.
Yeah, and it's been a big difference. So Josh Simmons, your starting left tackle, this was supposed to be one of the best offensive lines in all of football. And so they averaged over 4 yards a carry in Autzen, rushing for, I think, 167 yards, a couple of touchdowns against that Oregon defense. Simmons goes out, done for the year. Last week against the Black Shirts of Nebraska, they only average a little over 2 yards a carry. Now, here is my opinion. Josh Simmons, one of the best tackles out there, so you're not going to be able to replace him, but I do think Ohio State has enough depth at the position that maybe that was just a one-off against Nebraska.
Okay, so we just caught them in a transition against Nebraska, you think, maybe?
If you're being optimistic as an Ohio State fan, I'm going to believe that. So I think it's going to be somewhere in between. You're not going to be nearly as whole as you were with Josh Simmons, but you're not going to be as bad as you were last week against Nebraska.
So you expect it to improve. Now it's got to improve on the road in a hostile environment.
Yeah, and
which
I
is tough.
also want to point this out, too. I just think it was an off day for Ohio State.
They weren't great.
Because you can have bad offensive lines, and when you still have elite running backs, which they've got not one but two, when you look at Judkins and Henderson, those guys are still going to get yards even with a bad offensive line. So I think that was a one-off. The offensive line did look terrible last week, but you still have a mobile quarterback with Will Howard. I'd give it another week. If they have the same issues, they're losing the game.
Has Judkins been disappointing to you there?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew they had two really good running backs, and I didn't know if he would be their lead back. What do you think his rushing yards are? What would you guess right now? I'm pulling them up.
Yeah, I would think that he's at 800 rushing yards. Now, he's probably got 300 or 400 receiving yards.
Yeah. He's averaging 74 a game. He actually leads them in rushing. Judkins
How many?
does.
I'm going to say around 800.
He's got 520.
Okay.
And Travion Henderson's got 449, so he leads them in rushing.
But Judkins does have he had a big reception against Oregon out of the backfield. He had a touchdown reception last week.
Yeah, he adds he's only got 76 receiving yards. Yeah. So, I mean, that's been a little disappointing. And when he went to Ohio State, I thought I'd get more.
But I think going there, he knew that he was going to get less touches.
Well, I mean, you have to think that,
he knew two things. I'm getting more money, and I've got a chance to win a championship.
Yeah. And he's in a better position to do that now than he would be in Oxford. I will give him that.
And here's the thing, as disappointing or as average as it's been this year for Judkins, he still can have a major factor en route for them winning a championship.
Yeah. All right, I want to ask you about Auburn's bowl chances, and I'm going to give a disclaimer before I do it. I want to remind everyone, though, Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken brings you this hour, champyschicken.com. That's the website you go to if you just want to go to Champy's Chicken. Locally, Highway 119 down in Alabaster. Go see our guy Sterling, Megan, the entire crew. Enjoy the great chicken, those Mississippi Delta po' boys, or Mississippi Delta tamales. I do that all the time. The great po' boys, the sides, the desserts. Champyschicken.com, champyschicken.com. They bring you this hour. Okay, here is the disclaimer. I don't think there's an Auburn fan out there that's just content with making a bowl game. Okay? I'm not suggesting that when you start the season, bowl eligibility is even something you're considering if you're an Auburn fan. I think you just assume you're going to be bowl eligible. But when you start the season 2-5, if I tell you end up in a bowl game, you're like, okay, some things turned around.
Well, and I think Hugh Freeze can actually use this on the recruiting trail. I think he can use it to the fan base, to the Auburn family, and he could say, you know what, it was an awful year. I'm taking full responsibility. But I do want to point out that we won 4 of 5.
That's right.
At the end of the year. So I do think we've got momentum going into year 3. And I've told you guys before, and I know fans aren't patient, but year 3 was the year we've kind of circled in recruiting. And this is the year we've been striving and heading towards. So I think you can get a little bit out of that. With all that said, I do think they beat Vanderbilt. They beat La Monroe.
Okay, so that gets you one win away from a bowl. So, first of all, Vanderbilt is an absolute must-win for bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't beat Vanderbilt, your path to a bowl is almost
not
impossible. It's alive, but it's almost impossible. Then there's UL Monroe. So Texas A&M and Alabama.
No.
So you don't see.
I mean, Auburn is good enough, winning turnover battle in Jordan-Hare. And look, this can be one of these situations too. If you're Hugh Freeze, hey, look, they're an old SEC West rival. This is a team we can ruin their season. Yeah. They've got this big game. They're looking ahead to Texas next week. They win that game there in the college football playoff. We can ruin that game. So by that, I could see Auburn win the game. But just on the field, talent-wise, A&M, Alabama, those are going to be really, really difficult games for Auburn.
So right now, let's try to do this. I don't know if you can do this on the fly.
Give you these numbers?
No. Well, I do want to come back to that. Yeah. But give me the percentage chance you would give Auburn to make a bowl game right now. I'm not saying... Yeah. Just give me the percentage you would make right now to make a bowl game.
9%.
9%. If they beat Vanderbilt, what does it go to?
I think at that point it goes to about 20%.
If they beat La Monroe?
At that point, I think it's about 25%.
Okay. And then if they win either one of those other two, they're in. So it's 100% at that point. So the highest you think it could be would be 25% maybe.
Yeah, I still think that their final 4 games, they've already lost to Arkansas, Oklahoma, Cal. Their final 4 games, I think the 3 SEC teams they will play are all top 25 teams. Like Vanderbilt won't be at the end of the year because, again, we didn't really zone in on Vanderbilt's schedule before the season because there was no expectation. But now when you look at Vanderbilt, as good as they are, the schedule is so difficult to close.
It's silly they're not ranked. I mean, I think the voters have this wrong. Vanderbilt's a top 25 team.
And the unfortunate thing for Vanderbilt, after they lose tomorrow, or at least I think they will lose tomorrow, then they've got no shot of being ranked again. And there's, I think Auburn, the winner of that game.
Well, the sad thing is for Vanderbilt.
The loser of that game is not going to a bowl.
I know. That's what I was going to say. The sad thing for Vanderbilt is all this has played out for them. And I almost have to win this Auburn game to get bowl eligible. Now,
I do think they're going to beat South Carolina. Yeah, I think they'll beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then I could see them beat Tennessee.
Oh, holy crap. Now, you've got a path if they can win tomorrow, then what are they, 5-3? So 6-3, 7-3, an 8-win team at Vanderbilt?
And only 2 losses in the SEC.
That'd be incredible. I mean, Clark Lee might get national coach.
I think Vanderbilt's going to be favored next week against South Carolina, depending if they lose by 10 and then South Carolina beats A&M tomorrow night, then maybe that number is a little bit different. South Carolina is a short road favorite. But Tennessee is fascinating to me because, again, it's rivalry weekend. Tennessee's defense is outstanding, but Tim Beck, the way he designs plays, going into that game, I think Vanderbilt's like, if we can somehow grind out 21 points, I think we've got an outstanding opportunity to win this game.
Right now, I'm going to give you an updated Auburn line from mybookie.ag before I ask you for the remaining point spreads for the Tigers. Auburn has been, and you talked about it earlier in the show, smart money has been coming in on the Auburn Tigers, and it had jumped up to 7.5 is where it is right now.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any higher than that.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
That's the capper?
Yeah, I can find, and you heard Fuhrman say this, a market like to get a touchdown or under and even buying that thing down. But when it gets 7.5 more, that's a lot of points in that
spot. So 7.5 is where Auburn's favored. Against La Monroe, they're favored by 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, right at 21. Okay. I mean, right now, La Monroe is getting 10.5 at Marshall. So, yeah, it's probably 3 touchdowns.
So let's do this with A&M. Let's say A&M beats South Carolina. And they have not lost another game coming into this game. I can't remember who they play after South Carolina. What's an A&M Auburn number?
A&M.
We don't have a kick time just yet, but it is in Jordan-Hare Stadium.
A&M's 3.5.
Yeah, they play New Mexico State between South Carolina and Auburn, so they're not going to win that one. A&M's 3.5.
Yeah, I think A&M would be 3.5.
What if they lose to South Carolina this week? And Auburn beats Vandy?
Wins? Yeah. I think it's around a pick.
So, I mean, that could be a pick-em game for bowl eligibility for Auburn and for a disastrous end for Texas A&M. And then the Bama game at Bryant-Denny, give me a range. Alabama beats LSU, Alabama doesn't beat LSU.
Like percentage?
Yeah,
Alabama
No, I'm just saying, what would be the lowest point spread you could see for the Iron Bowl and the highest you could see?
Oh, okay. I think Alabama, the lowest we could see would be 14.
Yeah, so best case scenario for Auburn, they're a 2-touchdown dog going to Bryant-Denny.
And I think this thing could be as high as 22, 23.
Wow. So if Auburn wants to play a bowl game, it feels like Vandy's a must-win.
Yeah, I just don't see a path to victory in Bryant-Denny. Now, again, it's going to be Kalen DeBoer's first Iron Bowl. I don't think he's ever seen a rivalry like this before. I mean, the Apple Cup
doesn't.
Don't think it knocks on the door of the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
So
who is Fresno State's big rival?
And let's not forget, not only are there going to be incredible play-in games once we get to rivalry weekend, there are going to be 6, 7 opportunities for teams that aren't in the mix to ruin somebody's season. Yeah. Auburn, there is a good shot they've got an opportunity to ruin in back-to-back weeks Texas A&M and then Alabama season. Auburn's typically good in that role.
Yeah, you're right. When they are the spoiler, the pulling the upset, they find one of those maybe. All right, we'll see. Trash is next, and we'll get back to the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3, talk about all the games. That's coming up next on the next round.
Follow LT on Twitter at @TheLanceTaylor.
Buying that perfect home is one of the most important financial decisions you'll ever make, so it's crucial that you have the right partner to help you through the process. Hi, I'm Lisa Zeig, Vice President Mortgage Loan Officer for Bryant Bank, and I'm here to tell you that we are that partner, making it easy to buy with confidence. We offer a variety of mortgage products to fit your unique home buying situation. That kind of hassle-free approach might not be what you'd expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give me a call today or visit one of our 18 offices across the state of Alabama and let me show you what banking beyond expectation is all about.
Hey, you. It's the holidays. Give cheer a lift. And at New Balance Birmingham, we got the gift. That holiday vibe? Find it inside. Come together at New Balance Birmingham on Highway 280, right next to Chick-fil-A. New Balance Birmingham, we got now.
Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone. The New York Butcher Shop. Rare quality, well-done service. Hey, there's nothing worse than waking up to a plumbing problem. Don't get caught in a flooded house. Call the guys at Hemphill Services. Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemphill are the only ones I trust to fix it and fix it right the first time. Hemphill Services does it right and always at a fair price. For all of your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name that Birmingham has trusted since 1954. That is Hemphill Services. Call now, 205-229-2090. That's 205-229-2090. Hey, for all of your IT and printing needs, reach out to our friends at Xerox Business Solutions. Look, I'm still one of those old school guys. I print my notes every single day for the show. If you watch the show here on The Next Round, you see all the notes in front of me. From day one, Xerox Business Solutions, they've been with us here at The Next Round. Local for over 45 years. For all of your IT and printing needs, visit XeroxBusinessSolutions.com or call 205-969-3000. That's 205-969-3000.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing.
Our friends at Milo's Hamburger invites you to join them in the fight against hunger in our local communities by bringing non-perishable food items to your local Milo's, including canned goods. When you donate a canned good or any non-perishable food item, Milo's will give you a free drink. Together, we can make a difference.
From the creators of The Next Round comes 2 new sites, covercrimson.com and thebarnauburn.com. 2 team sites with the same excitement and information-driven content that you get every day on The Next Round. Live daily shows, recorded shows, free of charge, plus premium content with insider information starting at just $1. And it's the perfect gift for the Alabama or Auburn fan in your family. Covercrimson.com or thebarnauburn.com. Sign up today.
Start your day online with our website, nextroundlive.com, for the latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. It's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com.
Lance Taylor with the Windex in studio. You're cleaning off your board from Upset Alert.
Yeah, well, so the Upset Alert, I did Michigan, and we don't have that kind of yellow, so I used a...
You're going to need a paper towel.
Highlighter?
Yeah, I don't know if that's... Here.
Do you have paper towel?
A little damp. It was holding my drink earlier. Yeah, you're going to need that.
That'll work.
It's going to be perfect. He is cleaning off the board because he is going to write down his pick 3. Coming up just a little bit later on. One of the games we'll talk about in that is South Carolina, Texas A&M. It was, of course, the focus of our headlines because anytime South Carolina is in any sort of meaningful game, they are going to show up in our headlines. Yeah. It's just they write themselves, honestly. But we will talk more about that actual game. I am very excited. I can't decide. I'm excited about Ohio State, Penn State. I just feel like anytime I get fired up about one of these big Ohio State games, they always disappoint. Like that Ohio State-Michigan game last year, I was fired up about that game, and that ended up being the most boring second half. Michigan ran and ran and ran and ran.
Well, they run 17 straight?
Yeah, I mean, it was just insanity. They didn't throw a pass in the second half, it didn't seem like. So that ended up being a disappointing game. Penn State lets me down every single time. But I'm still excited about that
imagine
game.
if you were a fan.
Oh, I know. That's right. I don't even have a vested interest. But they just let me down every single time. You've got me excited about Oregon, Michigan at 2:30. Just thinking that could be 2:30 CBS.
Can't believe I baited you in on that game.
You have.
Could be awful.
Well, crap. Now you've baited me in on the
cocktail party. I heard our friend
party.
Feinbaum say it's going to be they're going to get destroyed. Michigan.
Feinbaum says Michigan's going to get destroyed. Yeah. You think Paul might be doing that to get some people pissed off?
I think a lot of people believe Michigan's going to get destroyed. It is amazing that Like, you kind of understand a TCU and Sonny Dykes, how they play for a national championship, and the very next year they're very average.
Yeah.
Because those programs, much like Indiana, if Indiana drops to 5-7 next year, nobody's going to be surprised. But a team like Michigan, you should be able to at least be able to sustain what you've got going. 15-0 to where they are right now offensively is awful.
We'll talk about all those in the Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 3. Before we go to trash, a reminder, our friends from New Life Art. That is Daniel A. Moore. He's been painting great moments in Alabama football history for years now, and he's got a couple more out, including celebrating the Saban legacy there that Tyler is showing you from Daniel A. Moore. It's simply called The Legend that Nick Saban has endorsed, and you can see it right there at danielmooreart.com. And also Deuces Wild, celebrating Alabama's come-from-behind win, get out way front, and then come-from-behind win over Georgia 41-34 with Ryan Williams, the first deuce, making the catch, and Zabian Brown, the second deuce, making the interception that sealed the game. So you can get both those right now at newlifeart.com, newlifeart.com. Use the code TNR when you go there to get a great discount, code TNR at newlifeart.com. With our friend from Daniel A. Moore. All right, without further ado, Tim Melton in for Tyler, who's in for Scott. That's the way the dominoes have fallen behind the scenes there, and Tim is going to hit the big button for trash.
I'll be honest here. I'm a boob guy. I love boobs. I like them small. I like them big, medium.
Doesn't matter.
They can point in opposite directions. I don't care. I'm a boob guy. Different sizes, most are. I'm a big fan.
Okay.
But I'll be honest, from age 14 until now, I don't feel like I'm any good with the boob.
LT's Trash is presented by Mortgage Right. Mortgages done the right way.
Boy, that's an oldie right there. But
Awkward leaves, awkward stays.
Yeah, it's so awkward.
Yes, always brought to you by our friends, the Mortgage Experts. No cost or obligation to find out where you stand on any of this. Whether you're looking for your first home or your final home, our friends at Mortgage Right, they are here to help. The Mortgage Experts, 205-900-7200 or mortgageright.com, NMLS 2239, equal housing lender. We start first. Well, I needed to get to this one story that I've been sent a million times, including you, and this is a Dodgers fan. Should we show the video or not?
It is blurred. Does anybody have the video? I don't know if Tyler or Tim either one have it.
Tyler's come across it.
Yeah.
But a Dodgers fan, 25 years old, pulled a Jason Pierre-Paul, unfortunately, and partially blew off his hand with a firework while celebrating the team's World Series win in Los Angeles Wednesday night. 25-year-old man wearing number 22, Clayton Kershaw, shout out, but had the name King on the back, can be seen carrying lit firework into downtown L.A. crosswalk. And the firework blows up in his hands before he can place it and walk away, covering him in smoke and spraying sparks, blood across the avenue. People scream as the man turns from the explosion, stumbling. The video shows as he gets closer to the videographer, it becomes clear that blood covers both of his hands with hunks of flesh and fingers missing and displaced.
It's tough to watch. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't think critical thinking, there was a lot of it in the post-game celebration. That's generally something people leave behind. But it's one of those, like, I don't know what it's like a big cherry bomb. It's not a cherry bomb, MD, whatever it is. But it's probably
M80?
M80, yeah. It's probably, that big. As a circle, it's like a small, maybe like a size of a clementine. He's holding it in his hand, lighting it. I'm like,
that's a small stick of dynamite.
Yeah,
the
what are
LA
you
Fire
thinking?
Department said the hand wound is debilitating.
Oh, I mean, he's missing digits, man. I've seen the unblurred video.
It's just stupid. When alcohol gets involved, people do really dumb things. But you go from celebrating a championship where who knows, you might not see another one in your lifetime, to a moment of euphoria to blowing your hand off.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to watch, man. Yeah, Jason Pierre-Paul is Lamb I Believer. That's the most famous one. I don't know if he was holding his. I guess he was. That's how it blew his hand off, or part of his hand off.
So somebody asked me the other day what it's like to live with Vizslas because they're such active dogs.
Yeah.
And so
it's a random question.
Well, last night I gave them both a shower, both Bullet and Chili. And I don't know, do you have it, Tyler?
Do you get in the shower with them, or
no? Did you see your text?
Yeah, I sent it. I emailed it to you.
I don't have it.
Okay, well, we'll do it another time. Yeah, I get in the shower with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Like
typically will shower out back.
Right.
Oh, no, I won't shower out back.
Okay.
I will typically shower them out back.
I bet leaf blower guy gets a heck of a show.
I will wash them out back. But
Yeah.
last night, just decided to throw them in the shower with me. But I've got some incredible video of them. So if Tyler, I'll check the email again. But I
Yeah.
wanted you guys to see
It
about
could be too big to go through.
40 seconds of what I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
So just trying to get those two crazy animals clean is what you're saying is going to be the
yeah,
videos.
well, not even that. Just what they act like, just on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So you don't do it in your own shower. Do you give them? You don't give them a shower like in your shower in your bathroom.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, the Brad Bell shower.
The Brad Bell shower. Yeah.
And then that standalone tub, they've actually bathed in there before.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Pictured right there, Lil Uzi Vert. We've got a friend whose dog's named Lil Uzi after Lil Uzi Vert. Has the internet in a chokehold over the last 2 weeks. The rapper has fans waiting eagerly for new music, and they have delivered an efficient and memorable rollout in record time. Uzi has dropped the trailer, release date, and promos involving UFOs. Tyler, you're going to have to jump in and tell me what his fascination is with Heaven's Gate, because he has pissed off Heaven's Gate. I don't think anybody really cares, but...
Heaven's Gate, like the old ones that...
yeah, like the cult.
The cult? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know they were still around. I thought they all expired.
You're going to love this.
They left 2 people behind just to run the website and answer the phones.
That was very, very smart on their part. You never want to be...
Yeah, weren't they the ones wearing like the Nikes and put on like the purple hoods?
They were all covered up in a purple sheet and had Nike Decades sticking out.
Yeah, Eternal A Take 2 is going to be the music event of the year for Lil Uzi Vert. Unfortunately, surviving members of Heaven's Gate feel differently. They've threatened the rapper with legal action due to similarities between the Heaven's Gate logo and the album artwork. In a recent Complex interview, the 2 surviving Heaven's Gate members stated that they will not allow Lil Uzi to riff on their logo. Quote, "Stay away from our intellectual property. Give the group some respect. Don't try to offer us buyouts like last time," the surviving members warned. "We do not want your money, no matter how much it is." I guarantee you he could get to a number they would take.
Oh, yeah, everybody's got a number. Yeah. They say they don't, but everybody's got a number. I do like, Tyler, that Heaven's Gate left somebody behind to answer the phones.
Hey, I love this quote, though.
Heaven's Gate, this is Judy.
The members were asked by Complex if they had ever heard Lil Uzi Vert's music. Their response made it clear they had no interest in what the rapper had to say. Quote, "We have not listened to Vert's music. Living in this world is hard enough as is. We do not need the brain damage involved in listening to his works."
Yeah, well, I think if I remember correctly, they listened to a guy that killed them all, right? Am I correct about that?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I think that was the way that went.
Someone received quite the scare this spooky season after authorities say they mistook Halloween decorations as human remains.
Yeah, that's what human remains look like.
Yeah, very clean.
A perfectly clean and put together skeleton. Just laying out, out in the open.
No marks on his skull.
Right, nothing whatsoever.
On Wednesday, October 30th, the Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office said they received a call for possible human remains in a river. Investigators said they found the remains, determined them to be Halloween decorations that had been discarded in the river for an extended period of time. Do you think somebody just discards it there hoping that this becomes a story?
Yeah, because I think a skeleton like a skeleton you put in your yard, you could easily just throw in the trash. I think you're probably hoping this is a story. I don't think you're like, I don't know where we're going to put this fake skeleton. Let's throw it in the river.
Is this a new thing for newscasters? He looks like he's got a taser in hand, but is that something that...
No, you know what that is? He's having to run his own teleprompter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Figured isn't that sad?
It is sad. That's what we do not have to do that at 3340. We've got a teleprompter operator on Sunday nights. But you see a lot of people having to do their own.
Yeah, this is what happens, though. You know what? We cut cost in Columbus.
That's right.
We let him run his own teleprompter.
Yeah, now, of course, Tim stumbles over his words every 3 minutes, but I don't guess anybody cares.
Why
Not
do we
you,
have
Tim.
to use that
Sorry,
name?
Tim.
Why
Sorry.
any other name?
I don't know. I was just looking at you. I said Tim. It's a very common name.
Repeat shoplifter has been banned from using wigs after he tried hiding her identity while stealing from stores. Now, 33-year-old Hannah Roberts wore various types of wigs to avoid being recognized. She was already banned from entering stores that are part of the City Safe scheme, but she ignored this rule. When store workers or security officers confronted her, Roberts would reportedly become rude and then flee with stolen items.
You know how I'm probably going to recognize her? It's not going to be her hair.
Okay, I got to tell you this. So somebody close to us works in retail.
All right.
And they are told if somebody shoplifts, You can't do anything.
That's
you
right.
just got
You
to
let them walk out. Yeah, I've seen that. I've heard that. I mean, I've not seen it. I've heard it.
And
they just don't want people chasing anymore because it can become
But the
a
same
danger.
shoplifters show up to the same store.
Correct, because they know they can get away with it. It's catch-22. Like,
it's really not like you've been caught shoplifting in my store.
Right.
If it happens again, I'm going to hit you with an axe. You're never coming back in.
Okay, all right. So we're going to have an axe on hand. That seems like we're going to have a more efficient weapon than an axe, Lance.
Ain't nothing worse than a thief, and especially a second-time thief that knows you can't do anything to them.
But the other
what
side
kind of world
it,
do we live in?
I agree 100% with you, but the other side of it is if I tell my employees in a retail store, if you see somebody shoplifting, you go after them, and then they go after them and get shot or hurt, you know what that's going to happen to me?
I know, you got liability.
That's right. I mean, that's why they're doing this.
But
the shoplifters know it.
And you'll also be mourning the loss of your employee. I just want to make that clear.
That is true. Yes, absolutely. That comes first.
Yeah.
Right.
How about have one person on staff that has training that can work, whether it's a taser.
Yeah, but what we used to call a security guard back in the day.
And they can intervene at any point, and they sign up their life. They get paid a little bit more to take matters into their own hands.
Right.
I remember I was at, I forgot what the grocery store was called. We were in there. We were underage. We were 19 buying beer, and this dude had stolen someone's purse.
Stunning.
And he was running full speed through the supermarket and couldn't decide. It was just one of those moments in time. I'm like, do I take the guy's legs out? And
I saw this happen.
It ended up not doing it,
Yeah.
but the guy got away.
Yeah.
But like now, if you do that, there's a chance somebody pulls out a gun and shoots you, right?
So I saw this happen in Atlanta. It was one of the SEC championship games, and State of Alabama humble brag. We've been to so many I lose track. I can't remember which one it was. But I want to say it was one of the Auburn's SEC championship games, and a guy is selling counterfeit tickets. And he apparently was selling them in one hotel and went to another, and what he did not realize is the guy he had scammed was staying in this hotel. And he sees him and starts running from him, and guy yells, "That man stole tickets," or something. I can't remember exactly what he yelled. And there's a guy standing at the door, and he just sticks his leg out and trips him. And he goes, boom, face first right there. The other guy comes and jumps on him. There's a cop standing outside, and he comes over and breaks the whole thing up and tries to sort out what's happening there. But I'll never forget it. That guy was running for all he's worth to get out of that hotel lobby, and dude just sticks his leg out and trips him.
If he's a smart thief, it's his word against mine. Like, I don't know who you are.
I don't know who this guy is.
You run, it's obvious.
I'm going to guess, he's caught with about 30 counterfeit tickets on him at that point.
So when, again, she became rude, she fled with the stolen items. To work around the ban, she began wearing different wigs to hide her identity, though a tattoo on the neck often revealed who she was. A judge issued criminal behavior order that prevents Roberts from wearing wigs while shopping.
Okay.
Speaking of which, my Jerry curl yesterday went in the garbage immediately.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to need that again.
I don't think so
You just
either.
order a new one from Amazon if you're ever doing another.
Order says she can't wear a wig or any hairpiece that's meant to change how she looks when entering any store. Quote, Roberts has been the most active shoplifting offender in recent months, and now we have another way to deal with her through this criminal behavior order. I got to say this, it can't be fun to shoplift. I know people don't like work, and I get that. Like, we've got a really, really cool job. It's a lot of fun, but the majority of people just hate their job. But why not get a job that you hate instead of a crime that you hate? You can't enjoy shoplifting. And it seems like you would be tense, anxious all the time.
Remind me to tell you a story over here. I got to be careful telling this one on the air.
I think you can roll with it.
No, I'm going to
change the names and times, some of the events. Okay, there are a lot of ways to settle disputes between neighbors. Some are witty, some are petty, and then there's a tattoo shop in Colorado Springs taking it to a whole new level. After a parking dispute between the neighbors, Fallen Heroes Tattoo decided to use artistic talents of its artist to paint a phallic mural on its one-story roof so the residents of the much taller apartment building next door would look out and see it.
Wow.
Quote, the mural is basically a tow truck driver towing a car. He's a big old dick running over dicks while other dicks are running away from him, doing Colorado activities like mountain biking, snowboarding, stuff like that, according to the artist Payas, who painted the mural on top of the tattoo shop that he works.
Wow.
Now, the new apartment building next door has been towing customers' cars, parked in their spots. They share an alley, but there are only signs on the apartment side that say resident parking only. So the shop says at least 45 of their customers have gotten their cars towed.
So basically, he's like, I will make it so bad to live in this apartment complex, they're going to have to come to me and say, how can we fix this mural on top of the building? And he's like, oh, I got an idea. Quit towing my customers.
Yeah. that's basically
That's
it.
actually pretty smart on his part. I'll give him credit now.
Well, we got that
probably not the length I'm willing to go to.
That slum lot owner in downtown Birmingham that loves to have a broken credit card machine where you can't actually pay, and then they'll tow your car.
Yeah,
such a scam.
Happened to me.
Yeah, me too.
The same lot.
Yeah,
you know where Lance talking about
exactly.
Lance just threw a ball of paper at you.
Yeah, it's better than
you having your car
name as a.
Okay.
Yeah, I told you I was
sorry,
at
Tim.
my.
I apologize. I thought we had moved past that.
I was at one of my brother's rehearsal dinners downtown, and the credit card thing was broken, and then I put a lifeline, huge. Please do not tow. I'm at this restaurant. Here's my cell number. I'll come out, pay cash. Your credit card machine is broken.
Towed.
Walk out, gone.
Yeah. That is Trash, presented by Mortgage Right.
Yes, mortgage experts. They've been partners with us since day one. Proud to partner with the fine folks at Mortgage Right. Call for any mortgage needs. Again, whether you're buying your first or final home, 205-900-7200 or mortgagerite.com.
People are saying, numerous people, including Nick and others, that it's some people's drug to shoplift. They just like the thrill of it.
Yeah, you remember when Winona Ryder, who's made a big comeback with Stranger Things, and she with Beetlejuice.
Yeah, but she got popped out in California.
She did, and it was all about just the thrill.
Yeah.
I mean, jump out of a plane, right?
Well, you can do that, too. That's illegal. That goes with the story I'm going to tell you, by the way. Woodhouse Day Spa, though. That's a great gift idea. I mean, we have flipped to November, Lance, so you got to start thinking about the gift-giving season.
Yeah, look, and it's a simple way to do it. She's going to absolutely love it. Maybe just for the weekend coming up, you want to sit on the couch, you want to go to a sports bar, treat that special someone to the gift of luxury from Birmingham's best day spa, the Woodhouse Day Spa, located at the Summit Shopping Centers, right off of Highway 280. Stop in, see Stuart and that great staff. Tell them the next round sent you. They've got a menu of over 70 options that she can choose from, including massages, body treatment, skincare, waxing, nail services. Order that special person gift online 24/7. Go to birmingham.woodhousespas.com. That is birmingham.woodhousespas.com.
All right, time for more Pick 3. Tim Melton, if you do not mind, please hit that famous song.
Pick three, it's time for the Pick 3. 3 for you and 3 for me, that equals a Pick 3. Say goodbye to your family, it's time for the Pick 3. Only time that I'm happy is when it's time for Pick 3.
And it is presented each week, Lance, by our friends at Buffalo Wild Wings.
11 Central Alabama locations, including that Buffalo Wild Wings Go location in Vestavia, #1 sports bar in Birmingham for over 20 years now. Stop in, wall-to-wall TVs, 26 sauces and seasonings, along with a full menu of great burgers, wraps, and salads. It is Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, let's talk about a few more games before we make our picks. I am locking mine in right now, and we will unveil those at the end of the show in about 2 or 3 minutes.
I need your
marker.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. I want to ask you, Lance, we're playing this, and again, you can play all the games at nextroundlive.com. You just click on the Pick 3 tab there at nextroundlive.com. All the lines generated from mybookie.ag. We lock them in on Thursday, those, so they may be a little different than what you find right now as the markets move at mybookie.ag, but close enough. This is a fascinating game, and I'm just going to go and tell you it is in my Pick 3. Pitt at SMU. It's at 7.5. SMU is getting healthy at quarterback. Their starter is 5-0. He's been a little bit banged up, but he is going to start this game for SMU, who's favored by 7.5.
Yeah, and I think SMU might have got their scare last week. Obviously, they've lost a game at home to BYU, and that was before everybody realized how good BYU was. SMU's rush defense has been really good, only allowing 88 yards per game. Kevin Jennings, the quarterback that you talk about, it started out as Preston Stone. Offensive line couldn't protect for him. So Jennings, a much more athletic quarterback, does have the leg injury he's dealing with. He is questionable, but on the other side, hand injury for Eli Holstein, as good as he's been. Pittsburgh was fantastic, especially with the 3 pick sixes just last week in that rout on Thursday night. But SMU surviving Duke 28-27, turning the football over 6 times, getting the block kick. I think that is the game that motivates them. I kind of like SMU in this spot minus the points.
Texas A&M, a 2.5-point favorite at South Carolina. We've talked a lot about this game. It was the subject of both of our headlines for obvious reasons there. But the game itself, A&M a 2.5-point favorite.
So A&M is the only FBS team this year that has multiple top 10 wins.
Wow. So only one team has had 2 top 10 wins, huh?
With that said, they're not playing a top 10. I think this is a dangerous game for A&M. Man, I've said this a couple of times this week. I think this is where Mike Oko can really earn his money to make sure his team is completely focused on a South Carolina. The brand doesn't look great. They're not ranked, but it's a dangerous team that can beat teams on any given Saturday. And you go back and you look at South Carolina, 2 of their 3 losses came down to the wire. They could easily be 6-1 at this point. As good as A&M is running the football, leading the SEC in yards per carry, over 5 yards per carry. 7-1 start for Elko, the best start for a Texas A&M coach since 1917, Dana Bible. I know you were big on Dana Bible yesterday.
Dana Bible is one of my favorite. Dana X Bible, I think, is you rarely see an X as a middle initial.
This is going to be the challenge for South Carolina. In their 4 wins, they've only allowed 1 touchdown run. And their 3 losses, 3 touchdown runs. In each of those 3 losses, A&M loves to run the football. I've just got a sneaky feeling that South Carolina wins this game.
I was going to ask you about this game next, but I see it on your board. So why don't you just go ahead and do your pick 3 for today. Unveil your picks. I was going to ask you about the cocktail party. You like Florida.
I think this is the first time I've ever done this in the history of the pick 3. And I need to mix it up a little bit because, as good as I think I was 1-2 again last week in the pick 3.
Do we have the standings? I don't know. Dunaway normally does that. I'm sorry if we don't. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Tyler, but I'm just going to assume Dunaway. Oh, there we do. We do.
Yeah, if Dunaway's in first, he sent it to Tyler.
That's true. Dunaway is in first, 13-14. I am trailing 2 games behind, and you are 3 games behind.
And this is amazing because my Saturday records have been incredible at Lance's Lock. I mean, I was 11-4 last Saturday, but I was 1-2 in the pick 3. So I'm doing something I've never done before, mixing it up. I'm going all dogs. I've got Florida plus 14.5,
right?
Louisville plus 10.5, and South Carolina plus 3.5.
Real quick, I was going to ask you about the Florida game. I've got Louisville in mind too. Florida and Georgia. What are you seeing here that you like Florida to keep it inside 2 touchdowns?
They're playing clean football. Again, they have not lost turnover battle over the last 4 weeks. They're 3-1 of those games. They're 1 loss to a really good Tennessee team on the road. Lagway. The only thing that scares me is how exotic, how confusing Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart are with a young quarterback in DJ Lagway.
That's going to be.
If he can just limit himself just to a couple of turnovers, I think they can cover the 14.5.
We agree on Louisville. I like Louisville plus the 10.5. I like SMU. You said you like that side minus the 7.5. And I just got a sneaking suspicion Arkansas is going to keep this thing close, maybe win it outright against Ole Miss. And then Ole Miss turns around and beats Georgia, and it doesn't mean anything. That's my guess. Arkansas plus 7.5, SMU minus 7.5, Louisville plus 10.5. That's our pick 3. Thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings for bringing it to you each week.
Yeah, again, stop into one of those 11 Central Alabama locations for college football wall-to-wall tomorrow. NFL Sunday Ticket on Sunday. 26 sauces and seasonings along with a full menu of great burgers, wraps, and salads. It is Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, we are back with you tomorrow morning for our pregame show. Johnston RV Center pregame, the Saturday preview, also presented by Champy's Chicken. That is tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.-ish. So join us on all our video platforms there and set your alerts so you know when we go live. Thank you for another great week at the Next Round. Thanks to Tim Melton, to Tyler for handling all the videos. Scott is out today. He'll be back with us on Monday. Dunaway will be back with us. Little T on social media. EG, we appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock on the next.